Planning Board of March 21st, 2024. Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, welcome everyone. The Town of Burlington will be holding the March 21st, 2024 meeting as a hybrid meeting. The Governor issued an executive order on March 12, 2020, authorizing remote meetings under General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, and extended by Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, including permitting remote meetings and participation until March 31st, 2025.
As always, members of the public are welcome to attend this in-person meeting. Please note that while an option for remote attendance or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting will not, or hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast, unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with particular interest in any specific item on the agenda should make plans for in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. Those seeking to attend remotely may do so via the following: townofburlington.webex.com. The number is 2348-257-5737. The meeting password is 1645. You can also join the WebEx by phone at 617-315-0704. Members of the public who are looking to participate using the online WebEx, raise your hand on the WebEx and staff will send you a request to unmute at the appropriate time. We're also being broadcast on the BCAT government channel. You can find it on Comcast 99, RCN 15, and Verizon 41. We're being streamed on Facebook Live via the BCAT government Facebook page.
Thank you. I believe we have some items that are being withdrawn from the agenda tonight. May I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to take item 7K out of order for discussion purposes.
Second.
Well, you know what? We didn't do roll call to open the meeting.
Let's do roll call to open the meeting, Madam Chair.
Yes?
Chairman LaRue.
Yes.
Rappaport. I'll request to unmute you, Brenda. This is a lot. Okay. So I request to unmute you. Ernie, I'm requesting to unmute you too. Yes. Thank you. Sutherland.
Yes.
Impemba.
Yes.
Pavino.
He's saying yes.
No,
He's nodding and saying yes for the public record. Member
Member
Gaffney.
Gaffney.
Yes.
Natola.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, we can move on to motions.
Yes. Now we have a motion, and it has been seconded, to take item 7K out of order for discussion purposes.
LaRue.
Yes.
Rappaport. Sutherland.
Yes.
Impemba.
Yes.
Pavino. Yes, he's nodding. Gaffney.
Yes.
Natola.
Yes.
Okay. Item 7K is a continued public hearing, petition to amend the Northwest Park Planning Development Zoning Bylaws Use Table, Section 1.4.6, Fast Order Food Establishments, to permit a drive-through use by special permit submitted by Nordblom Development Company.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion for the planning board to accept the petitioner's request to withdraw without prejudice as requested in a letter from the petitioner's attorney dated March 12, 2024.
Second.
LaRue.
Yes.
Rappaport. Sutherland.
Yes.
Impemba.
Yes.
Covino. He's nodding his head for the public record. Gaffney.
Yes.
Natola.
Yes.
Okay, Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to take item 7N out of order for discussion purposes.
LaRue.
Second. We need a second.
Second, sorry.
Second.
LaRue.
Yes.
Rappaport.
Oh, different.
Sutherland.
Yes.
Impemba.
Yes.
Pavino. Yes, he's nodding his head. Gaffney.
Yes.
Natola.
Yes.
Item 7N is a continued public hearing, petition to rezone property to the Limited Business District 252 Fox Hill Road, submitted by the Burlington School Committee.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion for the planning board to hereby accept the petitioner's request to withdraw without prejudice as requested in an email from the petitioner dated March 5th, 2024.
Second.
LaRue.
Yes.
Rappaport. Sutherland.
Yes.
Impemba.
Yes.
Covino. Yes, he's nodding his head. Gaffney.
Yes.
Natola.
Yes.
Okay, we also have two items being continued from our agenda tonight. May I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to take items 7R and 7S together and out of order for discussion purposes.
Second.
LaRue.
Yes.
Rappaport. Sutherland.
Yes.
Impemba.
Yes.
Pavino. Nodding his head. Gaffney.
Yes.
Natola. Yes.
Okay, I'm going to read those in a minute, but can we work on getting Ernie some
Yeah.
volume, because we're going to need him later. Okay, item 7R is a public hearing, application for approval of a special permit pursuant to 4.3.2.6, outdoor storage of supplies and equipment incidental to permitted uses, subject to requirements for location, lighting, screening, fencing, cover, and safety precautions of the zoning bylaws. 1 Bedford Street, AECom Tishman is the applicant. Also, item 7S is a discussion, request for approval of a minor engineering change, 1 Bedford Street. AECom Tishman is the applicant.
We're continuing these?
Yes.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to continue these matters to the planning board meeting of April 18th, 2024.
Second.
LaRue.
Yes.
Rappaport.
Yes.
Sutherland.
Yes.
Impemba.
Yes.
Pavino.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Gaffney.
Yes.
Natola.
Yes.
Good to hear from you, Ernie. Okay. Next up on our agenda is public participation. Is there anyone in the audience or online who would like to speak on an item that is not on our agenda? Not on the agenda. Did you have? No, okay. Okay. No, that's quite all right. That's quite all right. It's a little confusing. Next is announcements.
Yes, so this upcoming Monday, March 25th at 6 PM, Liz will be presenting to the Select Board about MBTA communities, which we'll hear more about tonight. Next up, the MBTA Communities Public Info Session, the second one of those. It's going to be closer to town meeting, and the date and time have not been determined yet, but we will keep everyone informed when we do have that solidified. Speaking of town meeting, May town meeting will be May 13th, and tonight the planning board will be voting on recommendations to town meeting. And then the upcoming local election is Saturday, April 6th, and that is going to be from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. at the Burlington High. If you would like to vote by mail, you need to request to do that by April 1st, and for directions, you can contact the town clerk's office. Early voting has already begun and will be going until Thursday, April 4th. That takes place in the town clerk's office, and that happens during regular business hours, so that's Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Wednesdays, it's 8:30 to 7 p.m. And then Fridays, it's 8:30 to 1 p.m.
Thank you. Before we move on, a request of my fellow board members, I am not able to make the select board meeting on Monday, the 25th at 6. I'm hoping that some other member or members could go and support Liz as she presents to the select board. Anyone want to jump forward for that?
I can attend.
Thank you so much. And anyone else, we'd appreciate all the support we can get. Okay, we do not have any legal notices or non-approvals or administrative matters, so we're moving on to matters of appointment. Before we begin this portion of the meeting, I would like to establish the set of rules that will be applied to all members of the public who wish to speak during tonight's meeting. All speakers, please sign in on the sheet in the front of the microphone and state your name for the record before you begin speaking. All speakers will be given a strict 3-minute maximum out of respect for everyone's time. Please keep your comments on topic and relevant to the discussion that is occurring. If a previous speaker has stated an opinion that you agree with and do not wish to add on to, please refrain from speaking and repeating what has already been said. Questions that are asked may be answered either by board members or planning staff. However, there may be certain questions that will require further research before responding. If that is the case, please follow up by emailing planning@burlington.org. With that said, we are now on to matters of appointment. May I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to take items 7A, 7B, 7C, 7D, 7E, 7F, 7G, 7H, and 7I together for discussion purposes.
Second.
LaRue.
Yes.
Rappaport.
Yes.
Sutherland.
Yes.
Impemba.
Yes.
Covino.
Yes.
Gaffney.
Yes.
Natola.
Yes.
Okay. Items 7A through I are all continued public hearings. They are all submitted by the planning board, and now I will list them. I'm trying to save myself a little speaking here. A is a petition to amend the zoning bylaws Article 3, districts, by creating new overlay district, MBTA Communities Multifamily Overlay District. B is a petition to rezone property to the MBTA Communities Multifamily Overlay District, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 14, 16, and 18 Georgia Drive. C is a petition to rezone property to the MBTA Communities Multifamily Overlay District, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12, 14, and 16 Dover Drive. D is a petition to rezone property to the MBTA Communities Multifamily Overlay District, 24th Avenue. E is a petition to rezone property to the MBTA Communities Multifamily Overlay District, 0, 0, 111, 121, 129, 131, and 141 Middlesex Turnpike. Item F is a petition to rezone property to the MBTA Communities Multifamily Overlay District, 26 Beacon Street. G is a petition to rezone property to the MBTA Communities Multifamily Overlay District, 103 and 105 Westgate Drive. H is a petition to rezone property to the MBTA Communities Multifamily Overlay District, 20 and 32 Second Avenue. And lastly, item I is a petition to rezone property to the MBTA Communities Multifamily Overlay District, 1 Little Brooks Court.
Okay. Thank you, Barbara. So just for everybody's kind of information, so this is a continued public hearing. A lot of this has already been seen by the planning board and members who were here previously, but I want to take every opportunity I have to inform the public about what we're planning on doing for the MBTA Communities Law. So, and we've proposed, so I'm going to do that through my presentation. So this is the timeline right now. So we are at our planning board meeting. The final zoning articles that need to be in the town, in the select board's office to go out to print happen on April 8th. So the planning board needs to make a recommendation to town meeting at this planning board meeting. We're going to have additional public info sessions going on as we get closer to town meeting. As you know, spring town meeting is May 13th, and it is the recommendation of myself and other people in the planning community and and the state that we get this through town meeting as soon as possible. So pushing it off to September would be difficult given the compliance deadline and all the things that need to happen up until then. So what is this for those of you that, kind of are only peripherally involved in this? So basically it's Section 3A of Massachusetts General Law 40A is the MBTA Communities zoning law, and so it requires MBTA communities, so towns within the MBTA communities catchment zone, to have one zoning district of reasonable size in which multifamily housing is permitted as of right, at a gross density of 15 units per acre. So it's a set of performance standards that has been integrated into the state zoning laws. It doesn't give developers carte blanche. They still have to come to the planning board for site plan review. It also means that developers have to adhere to all of the rules and requirements in our zoning bylaw. So it's not just, a handout to developers. It's not an unprecedented law. There are other laws on the books. So we have the Dover Amendment that, exempts agricultural, religious, and educational use from zoning restrictions. The state has also, 40B is also another law that the state has required cities and towns to adopt, which is basically a waiver from all zoning requirements. So this is not an unprecedented thing that the state is requiring of us. So why is this important? Why is the state doing this? This was passed under the Baker administration, and the real concern is that we are losing a key demographic in this state, and that is, the bulk of our labor force. So people, 25 to 39 are leaving the state at an increasing rate. COVID hasn't helped because we can work remotely now, and so brain drain. The state is worried about brain drain, the ability for our economy to get employees and highly trained employees. And so the long-term projection is not good if we do not provide housing for these people, because housing is the number one reason, and the cost of housing is the number one reason why I think a lot of people are leaving. And that's kind of, you see that in a lot of polling. So it's really, the impetus for this, from the state's perspective, is this is as a tool for economic development tool. So why is, this isn't, how can we use this as an advantage? So there are economic benefits to multifamily housing. So, a rising tide lifts all boats. So, creating housing opportunities near employment centers, and retail increases the property value of the entire area. So, keeping our tax base where good. Walkable commutes mean less traffic, fewer cars on the road, and a lot of the housing that we create will cater to employees of local businesses. So that's kind of the demographic we're hoping will happen. This also is not an unprecedented thing from, our policy perspective from our office. So the master plan, there are recommendations that this aligns with. So, encourage the addition of new retail and residential uses into existing industrial commercial parks. Zoning implementation. Burlington zoning can be beneficially upgraded to manage growth, respond to changing housing needs, and support mixed-use development, and respond proactively to changing market forces so that it continues to benefit from a high-value tax base and employment resources. So this is all in alignment with what we've done in the past. It also aligns with the recommendations of the Housing Needs Assessment. Key finding, we basically we need to create a more diverse housing stock, and a housing market with more options will attract higher income households that are needed to support new industries in the town. We're really trying to get the life sciences sector to really grow in town. So, you think about places for those employees to live locally so that they don't have to commute. So what do we have to do? What is the state requiring us to do? So we are just one of 177 communities that needs to comply in some way with this law. We are an adjacent community. We don't need to put this zoning anywhere specifically. We can take our pick. It doesn't need to be within a certain radius of an MBTA stop or a bus line. So we are lucky in that regard. All communities, they all need to be 50 acres and a minimum. So the zoning requirement the zoning area has to be 50 acres, and it has to be permitted at a density of 15 dwelling units per acre. It doesn't have any language that requires towns to construct housing. There's no, we just have to have it's a zoning, it's a zoning performance standard that we have to be in place that the state is looking for. And the law creates a puzzle for each community to solve, a zoning puzzle for each community to solve. So how our office has chosen to do that is to create an overlay district, a zoning overlay district. So the underlying zoning still exists. So if you're a commercial district, you still have the ability to do commercial activities, but this is an option that you can use if you choose to. And we get to choose where that goes. And so in order to do that, I enlisted an MBTA working group. And so I picked a diverse group of people that have a really good understanding of zoning, because in order to solve this zoning puzzle, you need people that have a baseline understanding. So I specifically wanted people from both sides of the aisle, people who are super pro-housing, people who are absolutely no housing. And I think kind of everybody who was there agreed that we want to have the idea is, or the goal is really to have something that can really, town meeting can accept, and that has the greatest chance of passing town meeting. And everybody, in the back of your mind, we're all thinking about the fact that if we don't comply, we lose millions of dollars in grant funding from the state. And as we see with Milton, the Attorney General's office has, there's a lawsuit with the Attorney General's office, and that, is being paid for with Milton taxpayer dollars. So is that, is that what we want to do? So the zoning overlay district. So this is the plan. So we have two sub-districts. We have a garden apartment sub-district, and we have a mixed use sub-district, and this is similar to the town center overlay. So town center, you have the civic center, so up here, civic center sub-district, and the central business district down the hill, similar. And these are the dimensional requirements for each sub-district. So Garden Apartments, it consists of mostly existing multifamily, max of 3 stories, and it's a 20 dwelling units per acre maximum. 20 dwelling units is consistent with what is existing in that district now, so it's not really going to be increasing the density, provide any increase in density there. And then the mixed-use sub-district is areas that include some existing multifamily and some commercial properties. It's a 3-story building height maximum, again, 20 units per acre. And then there's a density bonus up to 30 units per acre, as long as you have 15% of the development dedicated to commercial space. And that was done with the idea that we want to keep some commercial tax base with these new units. So here she is. Here's the proposed zoning overlay district. So we have the Garden Apartment sub-district, so we have Beacon Village apartment area. And so that's the majority of the sub-district. We have Heritage at Stone Ridge. And then on the mixed-use sub-district, we have the Lifetime Living, that's 24th Ave, that was recently built next to Lifetime Living. We have the Huntington and the Tremont, those are existing, those are across the street from Wegmans. And then the district that, the kind of district that isn't in existing multifamily housing is the Staples area. So it's the Staples building itself, which is on its own property, north to the point where Great Meadow Road meets Middlesex Turnpike. And so this all meets the 50 area minimum, 50 acre area minimum. What's next? Okay. So this is for those, just to make you guys, those of you who don't know, familiar with the area. So this is the Beacon Village area. It's the Beacon Village Apartments, Dover and Georgia Drive. Those are condos, and then the Westgate Apartments. And so those are 4 separate parcels, and they're existing multifamily uses. Area 2 is Heritage at Stone Ridge multifamily. It's 5.7 acres, it's 1 parcel. We did have to exclude the area that has age-restricted housing. Up, you can kind of see it in the top right corner. And MBTA Communities does not allow for age-restricted housing at all, so we eliminated that. And then we have in the mixed-use area sub-district, we're calling Lifetime Living, which was recently built. We have Huntington and Tremont across from Wegmans. And then this is the new area that is being incorporated. And the reason why the working group chose to incorporate this area is to include an area that is within the spirit of the bylaw. So the spirit of the law that the state passed is to provide areas to create multifamily housing. And this was the working group's choice of the spot to really promote that and allow that. This area is 8.28 acres. It is adjacent to 4th Ave. It's near the mall, close to areas of employment, close to a grocery store, close to shopping. It's an area that I think that, based on the master plan and planning studies we've done in the past, would be an ideal place for people to actually live in a multifamily setting, and I think that it would economically enhance that whole area.
Can I just interject one thing? Because
Yes.
I don't know if it's clear. You said it, but I want to make it really
Yes.
clear. This is not the entire Staples Plaza. It's just the Staples building,
Yeah.
and then going up Meadow Road to Middlesex Turnpike, not the rest of the plaza.
Correct.
Thank you.
That is correct. Thank you, Barbara. And so that is kind of where we're on that. And so looking at housing types, so kind of what kind of housing could be built here. So, basically the buildings on the I'm going to call it the Staples area. cannot really resemble something like Lifetime Living, Tremont, and Huntington because the dimensional requirements don't really allow it. It has to be, it has to be under, it has to be 4 stories maximum, and, there's parking requirements that need to occur, so it's 1.5 spaces per unit. So when you take all of that into account, with the density bonus, you're looking at with a density bonus with parking, that doesn't include drive aisles, that just includes the spaces. It doesn't take into dimensional setbacks, height restrictions, or topographic features. A conservative estimate of the entire area would be 216 maximum units, but that's with the density bonus.
Right, which they would have to, in order to get that, they'd have to have some retail on the first
They'd have to do
floor,
a
right?
retail on the first floor, and the density bonus is a special permit process.
Okay.
So without the density bonus, I didn't do the math on that, but it's less than 206, it's less than that.
I thought, it's one point someone did the math, I thought it was around 180,
Yeah.
something like that?
Yeah, so for context, what's a multifamily that's around that? The Tremont is 180, but the Tremont is 180 units exactly, but that's on a smaller acreage.
Much smaller,
Much
yeah.
smaller acreage, and that doesn't meet the dimensional
Right.
requirements, so it would be less than that.
Mm-hmm.
And so this slide is looking at housing types. It doesn't have to look like the Huntington or the Tremont. Townhomes, medium multiplexes, those are the type of things that I think could work in a spot like this. So these are good examples of what could potentially be built. So this is Colebrook Crossing and Sudbury. It's 4 stories, kind of in line with kind of other buildings in the area. Then you have, with the density bonus, you have 38 Haven Street in Reading. So Reading has done a lot of infill development in their town center that is really aligning with MBTA communities. But the idea is that you have first floor retail, and upstairs you have condos or apartments. And then Mayflower Manor. So it's really, the dimensional requirements is for kind of garden style apartments. So when you're looking at, think of the, Hallmark Gardens is what you would see as a classic garden apartment style from, the 60s or 70s, but updated ones would be, not aesthetically like that, but the density would be kind of like that.
So you're saying you
Would it-
can have retail below?
Only if you choose to have a density
Bonus
bonus.
density. Yeah.
But through the MBTA communities law, we cannot require first floor retail.
We offer it, and then they get the bonus if they take us up on it.
Yes, we are incentivizing it by
Yeah.
giving them a density bonus, but we
Right.
cannot require it under the law. So,
Question, the condo development that's right off if you go past the common and on the right after the museum,
oh, yeah.
is that an example of?
I think so.
That's
I think
what I
it would
thought.
probably be maybe another story, but it's
Okay.
not outside of the realm of possibility.
I was just
No.
trying to think of a more local
Yeah.
example.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, so 100, Caleb did the math. Oh, Frank did the math. Thank you, Frank DePietro. 166 units.
66, okay, without the density bonus?
Yeah.
Okay, thank
Yep,
you.
and I don't think that includes parking
Okay.
aisles.
All right, thank you, Frank.
Thanks, Frank. So then the other thing, kind of like, what's in it for us? Why are we doing this? We know what the stick is. What's the carrot? So, backing up. This is the stick of what, so the benefit is that, providing people with more housing, helping the overall regional economy, increasing the value of the area. But kind of what's the stick that the state has put out? And it's basically you're losing eligibility for some of the most lucrative grant programs. So MassWorks, we've gotten a ton of money from MassWorks, and we've been really, really benefited from it. And we'll see that on the next slide. Local capital projects funds and housing choice initiatives funds. We are a housing choice community, and we have received grants for that. The Blanchard Wheeler Road project study was done with the Housing Choice Initiative, and the grant funding that I received to have VHB help us with this project, MBTA Communities, was funded through Housing Choice Initiatives. And so the regulations say these three and others kind of ... if they decide at a later date. We're going to avoid potential civil enforcement by the Attorney General. We know that Andrea Campbell has sued the town of Milton, and they're paying taxpayer money to do that lawsuit, and they've hired bigwig attorneys. I don't know how, that are not inexpensive. So we've been awarded over $15 million in grant funds since 2010. And so you can see on our side of MassWorks grants that, our, public-private partnership that helped develop Northwest Park, that was all the signalization there on Middlesex Turnpike, all done with MassWorks grants. The connection to the MWRA water supply, which supplies not only enough drinking water, but, higher quality drinking water that allows, life science businesses to come here. It was a lot of money, almost $3.5 million. So this is just an example. So these are things that we would like to use grant money for, but we don't know if we'll be able to. So we want to explore Minuteman Bikeway connection using a Mass Trails grant, and we've applied for that grant. And this is just for feasibility. This wouldn't, go into building that. We're looking to update our wireless bylaw, which you guys all know, and we need to hire a consultant to do that. And I want to, after we talk about, Melissa Tantakoulis and I are doing the mixed-use zoning at the mall, but kind of down the line, I want to look at re-examining our town center overlay. And kind of, it's been 20 years, let's re-examine it to see if it still works. For the DPW benefits from this, they want to get another MassWorks grant for the final MWRA connection phase. They're going to PFAS water treatment facility filters. Seth Moulton has a grant program. They want $1 million. DEP grants, weatherization grants, you get the picture. We have huge facilities projects that are coming up down the line. We are looking at police department, elementary school, high school, and another elementary school that, the town that we're aware of and we need to be cognizant of. And so, any way we can get grant money and not go to the taxpayer well at town meeting I think will be helpful in being able to pay for some of these items. And then if you want to look at our MBTA Community Story Map, that's another resource to get information about this. And then we have our MBTA Communities webpage, which Caleb has wonderfully set up with all the information. And I hope that's all. I think that's all I have for my notes. But I think we are ready to open it up for questions. And I also wanted to just make note that Town Council Lisa Mead is here to help answer any legal questions about this proposal. So with that,
Yes. I'm going to turn it over to the board for questions, but first I just wanted to make one quick statement. What we're voting on, or what we're discussing tonight, is the plan that Liz has presented, which is, gosh, I forget what page that was on, but the actual plan. We're not voting on whether or not we're complying with state law. That's not what we're voting on. We're voting on the plan, and we should keep that in mind as we discuss. That having been said, who wants to begin? No one. Oh, Joe, okay.
So a couple of questions. One, we're still waiting to hear back from the state, right? Either the initial nod or no, it's no good, or whatever. So what happens if we go to town meeting and then all of a sudden they get back to us and say, town meeting says, okay, fine, and then the state gets back to us and says, no, plan's not good enough.
That is why I want to go to May, because if the state gives us notes back, then we can bring a revised article to September and not have to have town meeting come back for a special town meeting later on. So it's all part of my plan. It's all part of the plan, yeah.
Yeah, so,
Built-in buffer, kind of.
so I mean, I hear you talk through the whole thing about the whole purpose of it is because everybody needs, to have employees in their town, and everybody needs to have people in their town, and including us, and yet we've come up with a plan that doesn't promote that. So all the talk about the fact that, this is what the purpose is, and we've kind of gone around the purpose, right? So that to me is a flaw in it to begin with. I also think, in my opinion, I think we could better place some of the overlay. Like, for example, we all agree that the industrial area in the center of town would be better off being residential housing and retail, right? So why wouldn't we use that site? If we truly want to build housing that's going to help our downtown center, housing that's going to help our town, and we have the ability to give bonus to put retail underneath it, what else could we want? I mean, why wouldn't we incorporate that as a piece of this plan?
So I can address all of that, and thank you for bringing it up. The first reason, I have received comments from people that this doesn't do enough to promote housing, and I agree with that. That being said, as a planner, I don't believe that this mechanism provides Burlington with, allows us the flexibility to really do what we want to do and place things where we want to place them. So the state is very stringent in exactly what it must be, and we can't really deviate. So we bring up the town center, right? For me.
Let me just interject, because for the people out that are watching, this is not low-income housing. This
No.
is full
Just housing.
market housing.
Yes, this is full market housing. The goal is to have this also comply with our inclusionary zoning bylaw. So to have a 15% inclusionary zoning bylaw. So 15% of the units built need to be on our subsidized housing inventory.
Be affordable, right? 15%.
Yes,
15,
affordable, yeah, yes. So
Yes.
that is being built in. But
And affordable is based on the town.
it's based on.
We know that, affordable in Weston is not going to be the same as affordable in Dracut. So,
So affordable housing on the subsidized housing inventory is based upon the Boston region.
yeah.
So it's not town-specific. So, a town like Weston has the same 80% SHI as Burlington does.
Well, in the same region, but not if you go outside into other areas, it's not, right, so.
Right, yep, it's the HUD denotes the census designated region, and then
Right.
from there, they choose the income eligibility
Right,
requirements.
but the regions, will be pooled together that are similarly situated is what'll happen, right? I mean, that's, and they'll have one set of affordability, and then you'll have ones that are
Right.
otherly similarly situated,
yes,
and
yes.
they will have another set of affordability, okay.
And didn't Lexington have success having the inclusionary piece as a part of theirs?
I don't actually know.
I think I had read they did.
So the rule is now, Madam Chair, through you.
Please.
The rule is now you're allowed to have 10%, and if you have any more than 10%, the numbers, you have to do the calculation to get it approved by EOHLC. And so many communities have submitted financial information to get other amounts approved. So I've seen anything from 12% to 20% approved, depending on the community.
And through you, Madam Chair, I've already submitted that, so that we will be getting that report back.
I want to just address part of Joe's question, because I understand what you're getting at, and I agree that it's a little difficult to explain, because yes, we need more housing, but we're not really allowing for all that much. There's a couple of reasons for that. One of them, as Liz mentioned, is we need this to pass town meeting, and we need to make this as easy and palatable as we can so that it passes, because we need to do that by December. In addition, we've been talking, all of this whole board and staff have been talking for quite some time now, over a year, about the need for other types of housing, specifically in the town center and in other areas. This doesn't exactly match that. What we're talking about is housing that we think is better for Burlington and would be more well accepted and enjoyed by Burlington residents, and this doesn't meet those requirements. This would require us to build larger or more dense areas, whereas if we do it the way we want in targeted areas, we can get the type of housing we're looking for, whether that's garden-style apartments for seniors, or if it's townhomes or two families for young families. We can be more targeted when we do it ourselves, when we don't have the requirements that this comes with. So I do think that this board and the town as a whole generally understands that we have a housing problem and we want to fix it. But I think, and I think probably most people would agree, I hope, that we can do it. This is not going to solve our problem. We can solve our problem more effectively and stay within the character of Burlington if we do some housing changes outside of the MBTA law. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean,
Add to that?
Of course.
I think the other thing too is when we first started discussing this as a board, like you said a while ago, I think, Joe, you and Bill specifically brought up, how do this town has worked so hard to allow for affordable housing as well as just more supply to try to meet that demand to help even market rate. And you both had proposed, how do we, through this, get credit, unofficial credit. And so as a working group, we took that, obviously very important feedback back, and decided, how do we meet somewhere in the middle? How do we allow for getting credit, even though, I mean, I know legally that's a weird way to say it, as well as find opportunities to allow for more dense houses in areas where we would benefit and businesses would benefit from more dense areas? And how do we meet in the middle for a compromise? So like Barbara said, at town meeting, it's well understood why these were picked.
So we get the benefit of the hard work that we've already done. I
Yes.
think that's the way I look at it.
question along those lines for the attorney. The recent decision came down involving Stoneham and the subdivisions, the requirements for affordable once you hit 10 units. You familiar with that?
That's the Wall Street case.
Yeah.
So that's a subdivision case where it's different here than what we're talking about. But what that case is that the town of Stoneham and many other communities, frankly, have that if you build X number of units of housing in a subdivision, for example, that's allowed by right, and you go over that, you're required, without any benefit, to provide affordable housing, right? However, if you require that but allow something like a density bonus, you get something in return, then that's okay. But in the Stoneham, the Wall Street case, that wasn't what happened. They just required it
Right.
and didn't give anything in return.
So the question is, that I know that reading that, they talk about subdivisions. I would assume the same would apply to anything 10 units or more, and, you know, whether it would be a subdivision or whether it would be a multifamily structures or whatever.
No, the key was what's allowed by right.
Right.
So it didn't matter whether it's subdivision or if you're allowed to build a 10-unit multifamily building.
That's what I'm saying. So
by
it
right.
applies to all.
And it doesn't matter whether it's 10 units or 2 units or 3 units or 30 units.
Right.
If you're allowed to build something by right, you can't make the developer then give you something.
Right.
Unless that developer gets a bonus and they have a choice to do it.
Right.
Right.
Well, that's what I was saying. So it's not just subdivisions, it's actually units anything more than the 10.
Correct.
You can do it by right, which is the case I was talking about.
But the difference here, so.
No, it's not applying it to this. I mean,
Right, okay.
It was a question that we, because we had spoken about in the past,
Yes,
because
you meant-
Burlington does have that requirement.
Do have an inclusionary zoning bylaw.
Yeah.
So you can have an inclusionary zoning bylaw that requires additional affordable units, but
They got to be bonus
you
units.
gotta get something in
That's
return.
right. That's right.
We should look at that.
Right, so
Well, that's what I'm saying. It exists, and yeah.
you're not alone.
Yeah.
We can look at that, right,
Yep.
right.
Yep, and it's a recent case, correct?
Yeah.
2 years ago, a year ago, something like that.
So we're going to have to look at that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Joe. So, is that all, Joe?
Yeah, I'm not sure. So, were you finished answering that, or?
I think so.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone else?
I have
Tony Ann?
one question. When you say low income or subsidized type of housing, does that include seniors?
Seniors are eligible for,
Is there lower income
For-
after?
for
if
low
they're
It's not low income, though, it's
So
affordable.
It's not low-income
Yeah,
housing, so
it's
let's be
different.
clear about it. It's affordable housing, right? So
Affordable.
it's 80% of the AM, there's two balances, right? So first the purchase price has to be at a certain point, and then you have to have can't have over a certain income. So it's 80% AMI. So, for example, a single-family home in a nearby community right now, I don't know what the current rate is in Burlington, but in a nearby community, a single-family home under the subsidized housing inventory would be $280,000, where, for example, the same home in that market rate development would be selling for $1 million, right? So that's what it is, but you still have to have 80% AMI. So if you think about what 80% AMI is, you're talking about town employees with two incomes. You're talking about, assistants and admins in your local industrial setting with two incomes. That's what we're talking about. In the MBTA communities, you may not restrict it to senior housing. Seniors certainly can live there, but you may not
Because
restrict it to
there's a lot of
senior
people
housing.
trying to downsize. They'll sell
Right.
their big
Right.
$800,000
So they
home
could
and they could
qualify.
qualify.
They could
Okay.
qualify.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And AMI is the area median income.
Right.
For
Thank you, sorry.
people.
Okay. Go ahead, Bill. And Brenda, I see your hand up. We'll get to you right after Bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was a member of the working group, and, yeah, it's a very, I would say, a complex law that got put into place, and, how we meet that. We're not alone in what we're doing with regard to what the industry is calling kind of a paper compliance. We're going a little bit above that with the Staples area, but with existing housing, with the thought that over time and with the economy, those can certainly be redone as well. So, we're not alone. Many communities, and the attorney might agree with that, we're consistent with that as we go forward, but that enables us to do, on our own terms, additional housing.
So
Thank you,
would
Madam Chair.
would you be familiar with other towns that have already been accepted, that have had plans that appeared to be paper compliant?
Yeah, so most of the communities we represent are in the process, just like you. So one of the things that the Attorney General's office, there are two people that are reviewing this. There's EOHLC, that, at least two people, right? So there's EOHLC, the housing group, that are reviewing it to make sure it's compliant with the details of the MBTA zoning requirements. Then the Attorney General's municipal law unit will review it after it's passed. What the Attorney General's office has done to help is they have offered to review the bylaws in advance of town meeting, just to make sure that there's nothing that sticks out from their point of view that would be, that would not pass muster on their end. And so I've had a half dozen of my communities that have already had the Attorney General do a review, and I've had some who've had EOHLC send back their initial review to say it's okay, but they're upcoming in the Springtown meetings.
So the AG's office is strictly looking at the legality of the law itself.
Just like any other zoning.
Like you got to pass, every time you pass
That's
a law,
right.
it has to pass
That's
muster
right.
with the AG.
That's right.
And the other ones are actually looking at how it's applied to your town.
Correct. And what I have found, and Liz knows this because we've talked about, some things have changed because of this, is that there have been segments or provisions that we've wanted to draft, and everybody is like, ooh, do we do it? And like different planner groups are saying, no, it will never pass. So we send those segments to EOHLC, and we've said, will this be okay if we put it in there? And we get their okay, and then we put it in to make sure that it's okay. So, and same way with the percentage of affordable units, those are getting approved ahead of the documents themselves. I don't know that EOHLC is gonna make the 90-day deadline for everybody. With all due respect to them, they work pretty slow. And so they have a 90-day deadline, but I don't know that we can count on that. I think that the plan that your staff has and that most of my other communities have is just do it, and if it doesn't, if they have questions about it, then you tweak it at your fall town meeting to make it fully compliant. But that, you don't want to wait. The prevailing theory is you don't necessarily want to wait because, first of all, some people don't have fall town meetings, or they don't want to have a special fall town meeting. So folks are trying to do everything they can to put together a compliant proposal and then wait for EOHLC to pass it.
So for our purposes, where we have a September town, an early fall meeting, actually, what's the benefit of going to this when we don't even have any, if, like, in other words, is there any benefit of doing this versus waiting to hear back from them and then tweaking it before we go with the final product?
Yeah, so I think that Liz's position, I think what Barbara's gonna say is that, there's a lot to benefit in it, and that is, if it doesn't pass in September, or you don't get the feedback back, then you still gotta come back with a special. So, there's no downside in my mind, given what I'm seeing happening, getting it passed.
Yeah, my concern also is 90 days would bring us to beginning of June. There does not seem to be a whole lot of optimism that we're going to get our answer that quickly. So if we don't get it until the beginning of July, that only gives us 2 meetings before September. There's not a lot of time for us to change things. If we have the law in place and we just need to do some tweaks, I think that it gives us a buffer. It gives us a fallback position so that we don't have to do a special town meeting. But more importantly, it is our hope that we'll do this in May, it will pass town meeting, and it will pass muster with the state, and we'll be done, which would be nice, because this has been a very time-intensive process. It's taken an enormous amount of time and effort on the behalf of our staff. And if we can finish this in May and it passes, that is a benefit to the whole community.
And just because you had asked, like, is there anyone who's gone through this? As I understand it through our consultants, Lexington, although they allowed 200 acres, went through a similar, what did we call it? Paper compliance. They've already gotten approved. So there are towns that have gone through a similar-ish approach and have gotten full approval.
Not many, because very few people, they're backed up.
The town, I think that the town's benefits from your consultants. And part of the problem is the complication of the myriad of guideline changes that have occurred over the last year and a half. And the onus that puts on the municipality from the calculation point of view about, in one set of the calculations, you can't include the roadways to get the acreage that you need. But in the other part of those calculations, you have to include the roadways. And so that's just an example of how it's really complicated, and the fact that you've got a consultant doing all those numbers, then those all go to EOHLC, and they're not just looking at the language in their bylaw, they're actually looking on the ground at the numbers to see if you meet the calculations of units per acre and the number of acres that you have and the percentage of those acres as they match against the other districts. So it's a lot, and I think you risk a lot by waiting.
So do we have some sort of a vote from the working group that,
No, the
is
working vote
everybody on board?
Working vote did not take a vote.
They didn't. So
No.
is it 100% on board, or?
They didn't take a vote, so I don't think we can answer that question. It was something that I think, from being there was no one objecting, but we did not take a formal vote. And I don't think it would be appropriate for us to try and guess how people may have voted if there were a vote.
Well, I
That
wouldn't
all having
expect
been
anyone
said,
to.
Brenda's had her hand up for quite some time. Brenda, please go ahead.
Thanks, Madam Chair. So, I mean, first and foremost, I think the planning staff has done an amazing job.
complying, with what we believe is the intent from the state. I feel our position as elected officials is to present facts. And we have not received feedback from the state. I think that once we do, then we present to town meeting. Because if we present what I believe is an excellent plan to town meeting, where this is such a controversial issue, we could have naysayers decline it because, first and foremost, they just don't want the state to tell us what to do. But if they vote it down, we have to create a new plan that could impact the community a lot more than what this plan, would provide. There was a comment about more supply. I mean, more supply isn't going to change the increase in pricing due to the desirability of the community as a whole. Having a special meeting, somebody had said it's costly. It's $1,000. I already spoke to Amy Warfield. The biggest expense is having a janitor on site. Again, I think that we should be producing facts. I think we should wait for the state to come back to us, then present it to town meeting, even if it does, mean we have to have a special meeting. And then if it gets shot down, we still have the next scheduled town meeting to present again. And that's all. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Have your hand up as well? Please go ahead, Ernie.
Ernie,
You're muted right now. There should be a request on your screen.
Right there?
Yep, there you go.
Oh, sorry about that. I'm using a larger screen than normal and I'm having difficulty navigating. But a couple of things. Number one, this is the planning board's article. So technically we could at town meeting request to have it tabled to September. If for some reason we're seeing that the AG or the other output there is coming back with a lot of negatives to communities who have presented plans like we are doing. I think we also should be very frank if we go forward to this May town meeting with the town meeting members telling them that we believe and our consultants believe that this plan meets all the specifics of the MBTA community's regulations, but there is a possibility that it might have to be tweaked in September so that we don't get really weird feedback if and when we have to fix 2 or 3 little things. Hopefully that's all in September. But I think that I think there is for no other reason than to stick our feet in the water. There's a good reason for going forward to this September. And like I say, it is our article. So if at the last minute, staff and the chair agree that it should be pulled because of what we're seeing from feedback, we could always do that and then move to September. Those are my few words. Thank you.
Thank you, Ernie. Could I ask one question? So, but if it gets shot down, can you tell me a little bit about what happens again?
I'm actually going to ask town council to help us with this one. If we were to bring this to town meeting in May and it did not pass, how much would we have to change in order to bring it back in September?
So there's a misunderstanding of 40A Section 5 relative to zoning articles that don't pass. So it's unlike a repetitive petition. When in a repetitive petition, it has to make a big change and you have to get a vote of the planning board and the zoning board and all of that. If the planning board gives a positive recommendation on the resubmittal, town meeting may hear it.
Okay, so if we felt that if it didn't pass town meeting and we thought that the reason it didn't pass is because town meeting wanted that state feedback, we could go forward with the same plan if we chose to.
Correct.
Thank you, I did not know that.
I will also tell you that only requires a simple majority vote at town meeting.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
So one other question I have, we have multiple members here on our board that were on this working group. Can we at least poll them?
Sure.
And hear the thoughts of all,
I think there's the 3 of us, correct?
And it looked like Brenda was...
And it was, Brenda as well. So I was in favor of the plan. Jess?
I also was in favor of the plan.
Bill?
I was in favor of the plan.
Brenda?
I'm in favor of the plan, but I don't think we should put it forth until we hear back from the state.
Okay, fair, okay? All right, this is a public meeting. Is there anyone in the audience here in the room or online who would like to speak on this matter? I see no one in the room. Oh, wait. Please come forward, sign in, and give your name for the record, please. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Bob Young, and been living in Burlington for probably about 12 years. My wife and I were homeowners, taxpayers, and I'm an individual interested citizen. I didn't even come here tonight to speak on this issue, but I attended the meeting recently, and this seemed just to me, as sort of, I only became aware of it recently, but I almost feel maybe the people in this room, without disrespecting anybody, that you're speaking to each other. There was a lot of folks that were upset at that meeting. And I used to say if sometimes politicians would get a phone call, they would multiply it by a certain number. I forget what that equation was. And, there's a lot of things that people are trying to raise their families. One of the issues that came up at that meeting that I brought up was, and I've lived in this state my whole life, so I've seen a lot. I have a lot of institutional knowledge, but the math on one part of it didn't work for me. The last time I checked, there were 352 cities and towns in Massachusetts. And I asked the question, how many is this covered? I think it was about 178, if I'm not mistaken.
177, yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, where's the fairness in that? And, I'm just giving you my
No,
opinion.
I understand. Well,
I don't like how that sets up. There's
understand.
other parts of this state. And I also was concerned, and I asked questions about, it almost seems benign, this whole thing. Well, I've lived through a lot of things that weren't benign in this state that go on. And they say something when they pass this law, and then they can say something else 30 seconds later if they want to. So I just, as a taxpayer and someone that's been around, it's not my first rodeo on a lot of different issues, just be careful what you think you wish for. And so I only speak for myself. I don't even speak for my wife. She can speak for herself. But there's a lot of things. And that's the other thing. Politicians count on citizens to have short memories. I happen to have a long memory. So I remember a lot of things where people really, in this state, got really taken advantage of. So if you get taken advantage of, and you get taken advantage of, and you get taken advantage of, people have a right to start to say, wait a minute, I'm not going to put up with this. So anyway, I'm not so enthralled. I see a rosy picture coming from, and I'm not discounting the work that these people put in.
I understand. I'm going to ask you to wrap up because you're over your 3-minute limit.
That's fine.
Thank you.
So I think you have one man's opinion. but
That's fair.
I have to believe there's other people, when they start to figure out what this is about, it may not, go as smooth as ice cream or as silk. So,
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Young. Just in one quick response.
Sure.
We are not voting on the MBTA Communities Act. That has passed. It is law. We are required to comply with the law.
Again, I've been around. Milton is fighting it, and
Yes.
I could say to Liz that I've done a little research since then, and there's a lot of people in different towns, and I knew even before this meeting, Middleborough
And other
is
towns
very
may
upset
fight it,
with it.
yes.
So, I'm an optimist, I always have been, glasses half full. I don't care that they passed this law. I want to care about what our community has done, and if people stand up, you know, Concord, Massachusetts and Lexington were right over here. I don't forget what happened over there. I'm talking about the revolution.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're getting a
so-
little off course
Not
here.
really,
But
but,
thank
you
you.
know, people, you know,
Okay,
so I appreciate,
all right.
you know, the opportunity, and so
Okay.
we'll see what the community thinks, but I'm not afraid of
Thank
the
you.
fact that they passed this law, not in the
Okay.
least.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this matter? Mr. Kelly, please come forward. Do sign in, even though we know you. You got to sign in.
Sign in rather than use part of my 3 minutes.
Okay.
I've been talking to a number of people around town, and I'm finding people against it for different reasons. There's the people, of course, who home rule, don't want the state meddling with their zoning.
Thank you.
And there are people who say that they just don't want any more dense housing, we've done enough. And then there's a few people who say, this doesn't create enough housing. So I'm somewhat confused. I do think we comply with the letter of the law, and we have done a fair amount, so that the law is probably not aimed directly at us as much as other communities. The issue came up with some people, well, why don't we build it in the center of town? I think our town center zoning that we passed a few years ago did give density bonuses to people if they built it a certain way, and the property owners chose not to do it. I don't know.
Well, that's not true. They built out as much as they could within the center of town, and then there was a law that, you know, in town meeting where they said that you can't build anymore, so.
Jack's got a strict
Wait a
3 minutes. Let's let him
Don't get
finish.
into my 3 minutes, Joe.
Got a timer going here. Go ahead, Jack.
The entire retail strip there, they are allowed to build 2 levels above it for offices and retail, offices and residential, and they didn't take advantage of it
Let's
for
get it
whatever
back,
the
though,
reason.
to
That's their
MBTA
choice.
communities. That's what we're talking about. Go back to what you were talking
Yeah.
about, MBTA communities, please. Thank you.
As far as this, I don't see any harm to us trying it and avoiding the penalty, fiscal penalty by the state. We can, just as we would choose to zone the overlay in, we can zone the overlay out the same way. We would have to, of course, give the property owners and the abutters notice, and any of the property owners would have a right to lock themselves in for a couple of years with an A&R or a temporary subdivision or something like that. But if we don't like it, we can change it. And I think I sent an article to all of you that was written by Lisa's partner about what is it a taking, or is it a compensable taking, or would it cost us any money? And I think Lisa could comment on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak? Ms. Ellis?
We also have one person online, just to let you know, Madam Chair.
Thank you. We'll get to you online as soon as Mrs. Ellis is done.
Thank you, Sherry Ellis, town meeting member on the Zoning Bylaw Review Committee and also on the Working Group Committee. And I just wanted to mention because Joe asked the question in polling, I was opposed to this, I am opposed to this for the sense, similar to you, that this is not in the spirit of the law. For years, the state hasn't been keeping up with housing, and this is the state's attempt to try and bring us back up to the level where we should be. And by making a paper compliance, by just creating 160 houses, isn't the spirit of the law. And I am one of the people that thinks we need to do more. So I just wanted to answer you, Joe, that it was not a unanimous vote of, I thought there was a vote, but it was not unanimous that everyone was in approval of it. Thanks.
Thank you. We didn't actually vote, did we? No, we didn't vote.
No.
But anyway, okay, okay. Online, is that Dave?
Dave Webb, yep, there's a request to unmute on your screen.
Okay.
You should see it now, Dave.
Yeah, okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Dave Webb, Precinct 7, town meeting member, and I'm on the Land Use Committee. But irrespective of whether we should be approving or not this state-mandated law, I I'd just like to point out that the Housing Authority and others of us, Planning Board, Land Use Committee, and so forth, have been talking a lot in the last year or two about housing in general and the housing stock in town. And there are efforts to, to look again at multifamily housing in the town center area. But also the big new thing is the mixed zoning. Melissa's online here. She might want to comment. The mixed zoning that's being discussed and will also be before town meeting, I think in May, if not September, for a vote on rezoning along the Mall Road corridor. And some of that suggested rezoning will include housing of various kinds. So I just wanted to point out to people that the town boards and so forth are aware of the housing issue and the need for more housing in some sense, whether it's people working in town and want to live here or affordable housing or whatever. And we're so far right now well above the 10% limit that the state talks about for affordable housing. So that's not really a problem for us. And so anyway, I think the town is addressing housing issues, and I think everybody needs to know that. We're certainly aware of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. Is there anyone else who wants to speak?
Okay, I think we're all set.
All right, Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to close the public meeting on this matter.
Second.
LaRue,
Yes.
Rappaport,
No.
Sutherland,
Yes.
and Pemba.
This is to close.
Close the public hearing.
Close the hearing.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, to close the public hearing.
Yep.
Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we have Chairman LaRue, yes, Rappaport, yes, Sutherland, yes, and Pemba,
Yes.
Covino,
Yes.
Gaffney,
Yes.
Natola.
Yes.
So close the public hearing.
Now comes the vote.
7-0.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to recommend favorably on the petition to amend the zoning bylaw, Article 3, by creating a new zoning overlay district, MBTA Communities Multifamily Overlay District, submitted by the Planning Board.
Second.
Chairman LaRue,
Yes.
Rappaport,
Sure, no one's asking what my vote is, but please don't.
Sutherland,
Yes.
and Pemba,
No.
Covino,
Yes.
Gaffney,
Yes.
Natola.
No.
Okay. All right, now we have a whole bunch more articles or motions for the same question on different parcels, just so that everyone's clear on what we're voting for on the rest of these.
So do I need to close the public hearing on these separately?
Yes.
Okay. Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to close the public meeting on item, what is this, something B? 7B.
Second.
LaRue,
Yes.
Rappaport, Sutherland,
Yes.
and Pemba,
Yes.
Covino,
Yes.
Gaffney,
Yes.
Natola.
Yes.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to recommend favorably on the petition to rezone property to the MBTA Communities Multifamily Overlay District 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 14, 16, and 18 Georgia Drive, submitted by the Planning Board.
Second.
Chairman LaRue,
Yes.
Rappaport.
No.
Is this to close the public hearing?
No, this is,
Recommend,
this is
sorry.
to vote.
LaRue, yes. Rappaport, no. Sutherland?
yes.
And Pemba?
No.
Covino?
Yes.
Gaffney?
Yes.
Natola?
No.
Do you have to read 7C before I make the motion? Or no?
Oh, wait a second, where are we?
On C.
C.
C, Overdrive.
Oh, wait a minute, I flipped when I should have turned, so, okay. Okay, the next item is item C, a continued public hearing, petition to rezone property to the MBTA. I think I read all these.
Okay,
Yeah,
all
I think
right.
we
Madam Chair,
just have to
I
close
would like
it.
to make a motion to close the public meeting
On
on 7C.
Second.
LaRue?
Yes.
Rappaport?
Yes.
Sutherland?
Yes.
And Pemba?
Yes.
Covino?
Yes.
Gaffney?
Yes.
Natola?
Yes.
Okay, Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to recommend favorably on the petition to rezone property to the MBTA Communities Multifamily Overlay District 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12, 14, and 16 Dover Drive, submitted by the planning board.
Second.
Chairman LaRue,
Yes.
Rappaport,
No.
Sutherland,
Yes.
Impemba,
No.
Covino,
Yes.
Gaffney,
Yes.
Natola.
No.
Just out of curiosity, what happened to 9 and 15?
What happened to what?
9
Oh,
and,
9 and 15.
9 and 15 Dover Drive.
Yeah.
And 11 Dover Drive.
And
Well,
11,
maybe
I
they
guess.
just weren't in
And 11.
the, you know what I mean, maybe they're not.
The overlay?
Well, they're all together.
No, that's,
I mean, is there, I don't know, is there a 9, 11, and 15? I don't know.
I
Excuse
don't
me,
know.
these are, if I could, so there's only three odd numbers here. So there's some kind of drawing on the, I don't have the plan in front of me, I'll pull it out, but
These are all taken from the assessor's database.
yeah.
Okay. So we're on D.
Yep, Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to close the public meeting on this matter 7D.
LaRue.
Yes.
Rappaport,
Yes.
Sutherland.
Yes.
Impemba,
Yes.
Covino,
Yes.
Gaffney,
Yes.
Natola.
Yes.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to recommend favorably on the petition to rezone property to the MBTA Communities Multifamily Overlay District, 24th Avenue, submitted by the planning board.
Second.
LaRue,
Yes.
Rappaport,
No.
Sutherland.
Yes.
Impemba,
Nope.
Gaffney,
Yes.
Covino,
Yes.
Natola.
No.
Okay. Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to close the public meeting on this matter for 7E.
Second.
LaRue,
Yes.
Rappaport,
Yes.
Sutherland,
Yes.
Impemba,
Yes.
Covino,
Yes.
Gaffney,
Yes.
Natola.
Yes.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to recommend favorably on the petition to rezone property to the MBTA Communities Multifamily Overlay District 00, 111, 121, 129, 131, and 141 Middlesex Turnpike, submitted by the planning board.
Second.
LaRue,
Yes.
Rappaport,
No.
Sutherland,
Yes.
Impemba,
No.
Covino,
Yes.
Gaffney,
Yes.
Natola.
No.
Okay, Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to close the public meeting on this matter for 7F.
Second.
LaRue,
Yes.
Rappaport,
Yes.
Sutherland,
Yes.
Impemba,
Yes.
Covino,
Yes.
Gaffney,
Yes.
Natola.
Yes.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to recommend favorably on the petition to rezone property to the MBTA Communities Multifamily Overlay District, 26 Beacon Street, submitted by the planning board.
Second.
LaRue,
Yes.
Rappaport, Sutherland,
Yes.
Impemba,
Yes. Let's close it, we're closing the public hearing.
No.
This is-
To recommend favorably.
Sorry. No.
Covino,
Yes.
Gaffney,
Yes.
Natola,
No.
Rappaport,
No.
Okay.
Sorry.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to close the public meeting on this matter for 7G.
Second.
Okay. LaRue,
Yes.
Rappaport,
Yes.
Sutherland.
Yes.
Impemba.
Yes.
Covino,
Yes.
Gaffney,
Yes.
Natola.
Yes.
We're getting closer. Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to recommend favorably on the petition to rezone property to the MBTA Communities Multifamily Overlay District, 103 and 105 Westgate Drive, submitted by the planning board.
LaRue.
Yes.
Second.
So, thank you, Bill.
Sorry.
LaRue.
Yes.
Rappaport,
No.
Sutherland.
Yes.
Impemba.
No.
Covino,
Yes.
Gaffney,
Yes.
Natola.
No.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to close the public meeting on this matter for 7H.
Second.
LaRue,
Yes.
Rappaport,
Yes.
Sutherland,
Yes.
Impemba,
Yes.
Covino,
Yes.
Gaffney,
Yes.
Natola.
Yes.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to recommend favorably on the petition to rezone property to the MBTA Communities Multifamily Overlay District, 20 and 32 Second Avenue, submitted by the planning board.
Second.
LaRue.
Yes.
Rappaport,
No.
Sutherland.
Yes.
Impemba,
No.
Covino, Gaffney,
Yes.
Natola.
No.
Okay. Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to close the public meeting on this matter for 7I.
Second.
LaRue.
Yes.
Rappaport. Sutherland.
Yes.
Impemba.
Yes.
Covino. Gaffney.
Yes.
Natola.
Yes.
Rappaport.
Yes.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to recommend favorably on the petition to rezone property to the MBTA Communities Multifamily Overlay District 1 Littles Brook Court, submitted by the Planning Board.
LaRue.
Second.
Second. Thank you, Bill. LaRue.
Yes.
Rappaport. Sutherland.
Yes.
Impemba.
No.
Covino. Gaffney.
Yes.
Natola.
No.
Covino.
Okay, thank you, everyone, and I want to thank staff for all their hard work on this. It's been a lot of work, and a long time, and we really appreciate all the effort that has gone into it.
Yes.
So we are now moving on to item J on our agenda. Item J is a continued public hearing, petition to rezone property to the Limited Business District, 55 Center Street, submitted by the Select Board. Who is here representing this article? Thank you, Mr. Sagarino. Just a quick note that after the board speaks and I turn it over to the public for comment, everyone will be asked to come forward, state their name, sign in, and kept to a strict 3-minute limit. Thank you. Mr. Sagarino.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Shall we run through the same presentation again? Is that what the intention is?
The same, oh, you mean? From last time. I think, I'm not sure if we need to do the same presentation. I mean, nothing's changed, right?
No.
Is there anyone on the board that feels they need to see the presentation again? No, okay. I don't think so. Perhaps just for the benefit of the public, just a brief summary of what it is that we're voting on tonight.
Okay, Madam Chair, I'll give a brief summary of what we're voting on. I know that Chief Brown can give a little bit of a background on how we got here. What we're asking the town is for permission to rezone the open space portion of the Grandview Planned Development District. It's currently being used as a sculpture park. To rezone it to BL or LB.
It is the BL zoning district, it's the limited business zoning district.
So that we may include it in the construction of a new police station.
Okay.
That's a brief summary
Okay,
of
thank
what
you.
the change is.
Thank you. Chief Brown, did you want to speak?
Yes, Madam Chair, just for the, in the interest of getting some information out there based on some maybe confusion and comments that have been made in the past, I just wanted to try to bring the board up to speed and let you know where we were and how we got here. So basically, everybody that's passed through the police station and everybody I've spoken to is very supportive and seems to understand that we need a new building, okay? So I'll bring you back to January 2010. Town meeting had commissioned a facilities inventory committee, and they published their results in January 2010. And specifically as it relates to the police station, they said, and I quote, "Long-term resolution would be a complete replacement in the next 10 years." And here we are 14 years later. They also said that it should be built centrally located in town. And whereas the current police station was already centrally located, they recommended that we do a complete renovation when the time comes. So since 2010, we've patiently waited, and as time has continued, you can imagine the building has fallen into further disrepair. Now, over this time, the town has made a calculated choice on what should be repaired and what we could kind of let go. And as you can imagine, health and safety concerns, we try to work with, we spend the money, but other things have just fallen further into disrepair. Certainly the water damage, et cetera, and anybody who's seen it knows what I'm talking about. On the heels of that publication coming out, Chief Kent comes in, sworn in as a chief. Had never been here before, and right away when he comes in March, just 2-3 months later, he notices the condition of the building, and he starts to make this basically one of his paramount issues during his tenure. He can't believe the building we're in. Fast forward now to 2022, we get town meeting approval for the feasibility, and we end up contracting with KBA, which is the architectural firm we're working with. Now, based on this facilities inventory committee, we charge them with certain things, and one of the things is to look at the possibility of a renovation of the building. In addition to that, look at the possibility of a new building if we can't go there or the building can't be renovated, and also investigate town-owned land so that we minimize any acquisition costs for privately owned lands, okay? KBA starts by sending us these worksheets. The deputy and I worked countless hours with them to do this staffing study. And what happens is they come in and they look at our current operations, the current police station, the population of town, the calls for service, and they take that information and they extrapolate it out over 10, 15, 20, and 50 years. Based on that, they come out with what they call a space needs assessment. And out of that, they find that we're going to need a building that's 37,500 square feet. That's what's going to be required to do this right. Now, in the interim, they also have a list of the town-owned land, and they're charged with to go out and see where is this building potentially going to fit. Now, based on the massing of this building, you can imagine a lot of the lots fell off of that list. So what we were left with was to look at 45 Center Street, where the current station is, the area adjacent to the Burlington High School, I'll call it 125 Cambridge Street, the Vinebrook Water Treatment Plant, and also the Pine Glen School. Now, in the interim, the Pine Glen, the school building committee decides they're going to keep the 4 elementary school system, so Pine Glen falls off. And there were just areas, the other two, Vinebrook and 125 Cambridge, they were just not suitable based on KBA's feasibility, okay? So we're left now with conceptual floor plans based on all the adjacencies that we're going to need established through this program, the staffing study, which results in a 2-story building with a partial basement, which will fit our needs. And these floor plans are then used to establish how the building's going to look. And what KBA came out and said was, look, you're going to need a lot size that's about 2.7 acres. And basically, that's where we are. And to do this right, to put that building on a site where we've got everything we need efficiently, the security, and to be able to park all the cruisers and staff parking and future growth, they made the recommendation that, hey, we may be able to fit on this site, but it would be best if you rezone the open space out of the Grandview Plan Development District and try to rezone that into the limited business district. So that's why we're here today. So I just want to try to dispel any of the information that we kind of pushed this forward and nobody knew. This did come from a place, and I just felt it was important to bring it before the board to let you know where that place was and why we're here. So I appreciate you taking the time to listen. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Brown. Okay, for Chief Brown, you mean?
No, for you.
For me?
Yeah, you're on that subcommittee, right? So
Yes.
did you see all that information as far as all the different locations? Because I never got a copy.
Feasibility study was done prior to the formation of the Police Building Committee. I have been informed about it. I was not involved in that part of the process. I actually had something I wanted to bring up to Mr. Sagarino. One of the concerns that's been brought to me about this, particularly about the rezoning, not about the police station itself, but about this rezoning, is that it is the understanding of everyone that you do not need the entire parcel between the police station and Grandview. And it's been asked, why do we have to rezone the entire parcel? Why can't we split it and rezone part of it? I understand that it is unknown at this time how much you're going to need. So my request, and I will have to see what my fellow board members, if they feel comfortable with this, my request of you would be, would you be willing to state that once you determine how much of that land you need, that you would come back to this board, split the lot, and rezone the rest of it back to what it is now? So, because the concern is that if we rezone the entire parcel, when you only need a quarter of it, that at some point in the future, you'd be able to, or someone would be able to take more of it without coming back to this board. Would you be comfortable making that commitment?
Madam Chair, absolutely, and that was on the recommendation of Town Council, with not knowing how much square footage we're going to need. We are aware that the open space is a very beloved part of town, and to many of the board members, and our goal is to use the least amount of it possible to make a successful project. I think on Town Council, Lisa, you can speak for yourself on that, but she suggested that if we were able to come up with that line prior to town meeting, that we could reduce the area being rezoned without having to sort of re-advertise and do that whole
didn't know
process,
that.
but we could not increase the size being rezoned, if I'm capturing your comments correctly.
That's correct.
Okay.
So we'd be willing to do that, we just don't know exactly where that line needs to fall.
Okay.
And again, pardon me from my perspective, the town will own both sides of the land, and a larger part of it being part of the police parcel will fall under the planning board site plan review process if we are fortunate enough to get to that point. And clearly, the planning board will have a lot of say in sort of that aspect of what the police station site may look like anyway. But if it's keeping the open space in perpetuity question, I absolutely feel that we'd be willing to move that line and tighten up that distance. If we can get some exact information prior to town meeting, we'd be happy to do so.
And if it's after town meeting, we can still do it after the fact?
We'd be willing to do so, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Now that that's cleared up, I'm going to ask the board members who would like to speak. Jess, did you have anything you wanted to say?
I'm good for right now.
Okay. Tony Ann?
No, I'm all set for
Joe?
right now.
Yeah, a question, as Chief, you had said that the architect looked at it and said it could be done within the parcel. Why are you going to the field?
So the building itself, the 37,000 square foot building could be there, but in order to meet the efficiencies that would need growing out with parking and the security measures for the cruisers and staff parking, it would be better to be able to absorb some of that open space. Because right now, if we were to put just the building there, we would be limiting ourselves to the parking and potentially for growth down the road, if this is a 50-year building.
I get it. I mean, but, we're not talking about just any parcel, right? I mean, this parcel was actually voted on town-wide to be kept as it is. The Grandview and the parcel next to it, it was a town-wide vote to keep it like that. And I'm feeling like you're saying, okay, it can be done here, but for us to be more comfortable and maybe down the road, if we grow or whatever, we need more space. So why don't we, what about, at this point, limiting it to, okay, let's do it, what you're going to do here, and then if we need to grow down the road, we look at pieces of the second parcel.
Madam Chair, I would just say that we don't have a reliable project if we go to town meeting and we don't know if the building can appropriately fit on the site.
Yeah, we haven't even seen a project. Is town meeting going to see a project?
A conceptual plan of the project.
Well, how come we haven't seen that then?
You've seen it.
That?
You've seen some renderings. This is a $150,000 feasibility study.
Right, so that's what town meeting is going to see.
They're going to see some photos and some renderings and how
why
the
don't we
building
s-
sizes upon the property, just like every municipal building that we've done, in the past.
Can
we don't see
I
it here?
actually answer that? Part of, because I think I know what Joe's asking for. There are some renderings, but they are not in their final stages, and there have been requests for significant changes, or in one case, a completely different facade. And I think that's not available now, but it will be available, I would expect, before town meeting. Is that correct?
Yes, and again, they'd be similar to the renderings that were part of the original presentation.
Well, they may look completely different, though. So, well,
But the look
based
and
on
feel of them
requests.
would be similar to what's been provided already.
In terms of its, how
Yeah.
finalized it
I
is,
can
you
pull
mean?
it.
And the square footage is 37,000 feet. What's the footprint?
On this that was just sent over, this says 16,000.
16,000.
Approximately 16,000.
16,000 is the footprint of that building,
This
not...
building here.
I'm going to ask you
Parking.
not to put up the rendering, because we're not voting on that. We are not voting on a rendering. That is not final. It's not even halfway through the stage. I don't think we should be discussing renderings at this point.
Well, I mean, they're going to town meeting for exactly what they're asking us for, right?
Right, and the rendering is
meeting's
not
gonna
part
see
of
it?
that.
You told us town meeting was going to see it.
Maybe they will, but what town meeting is going to vote on is the zoning
Okay,
change.
so 16,000, what exists right now for footprint? Total structure existing right now?
Total square footage was?
No, footprint.
Is it this red dotted line? Is this the existing?
Yes, that is the existing, but I'm not sure what the square footage is of that building.
So, I mean, is it more square footage, or is it the same square footage, or is it, I guess what I'm saying, what I'm getting at is if it's no more square footage, why are we going into another parcel? I mean, if you can fit it within the same footprint, why are we going on to a parcel of a historic site in town and taking it over for business? I don't, you're losing me there. You lost me with a couple of things, but this is a big loss. I'm at a full loss as to why we need to go into that parcel for possible future expansion of cars or whatever we're doing.
Do we know what the current square footage is and what the new square footage will be?
Madam Chair, I believe the current square footage of the building that's there in the red dots is about 27,000 square feet, so I don't know what that would be per floor necessarily, but the new one would be, 16 on each floor, but with its 2 floors and a half basement, so it's about 37.5 for the new one. So it is bigger than the existing.
No, but I mean, it's all about footprint, really.
Well, we don't know the
It's nothing to do
footprint,
with-
so
it's got
that,
nothing to
I
do with
figured
square
that's
footage.
what we have to go on. We don't have the footprint.
Well, that's the most important part of this, is the footprint. You can't make a decision without the footprint.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Mr. Sagarino, correct me if I'm wrong, but part of the problem with coming up with the plan and the ingress and egress and the flow, traffic flow around the building and the parking is that the architects can't come up with that final plan to show people until they know exactly how big the property is. And their preliminary review has been that the property as it stands today in that zoning district is not sufficient. Hence, the need to get into a larger zoning district, and the reason that after that is finalized, to come back in and pull it back down again. They can't do it until they actually know, because it doesn't work in the configuration that exists today. Is that correct, Mr. Sagarino?
That is correct. And again,
Makes sense.
just
That really
furthermore,
doesn't make sense.
like I say, there's energy efficiency measures considered for the building that could include geothermal, that may require the use of the field, et cetera. So
I
it's an
understand.
unknown at this point.
I understand, but what you're telling me is the architects have come up with a footprint. So the footprint is all we're talking about. It doesn't really matter what, we're talking about in total square footage. It's really the footprint, because that's how much of the lot is going to be taken up.
Well,
And if the footprint is no different than the footprint that's there,
I think,
I mean, I'm
I'm
not
not
saying
sure,
different, I'm
but-
saying square foot, for,
I can't say for sure, but it is my understanding that even if the footprint were the same, what we have right now is not sufficient for the police department's needs in terms of storage of their vehicles and other security measures and all those other things. So it may very well be that the footprint is not larger, it may just be a different shape or
So, but
something,
is there a
but it's not
proposed
currently.
plan? A proposed one, if they had that spot, do they have like a footprint?
We don't have that yet. No, they're working on that.
Barbara, you just said something, but
Yes.
I'm looking at a site right now that's got a lot of green space on it. So how can we say that we can't accommodate more cars if you're using the same footprint? You got a lot of green space on that site.
You want to get rid of all the green space?
I'd rather get rid of the green space than get rid of a historic site right in the center of
Well,
town.
no, that's fair,
Absolutely.
and I think, okay, we've heard your concerns, and that's valid, and you can have that concern. We still have a matter before us that we're going to vote on, so you've
Right, well, this
registered
is
your
all what we're voting on, so we're
I
trying to
understand.
hash out what we're really
Right,
voting on.
but they've
so.
answered you with what they can answer.
I'm asking questions
what
that
they
really
have.
haven't been answered. And the answer I got was that there's not enough space, and I'm saying, well, there's a lot of green space that could be turned into parking.
I think the answer you were looking for, though, was probably something about the footprint, and they've said they don't have that right now.
The rendering provided on the screen is the architect's best estimate as to how they would present the building right now, in the best estimate of how much of the field would be used as of right now, without any further work done on the project.
And where is the,
Just for context, that this is the property line that my mouse is on right here. So this is kind of following along here of where the existing property is, showing that this spot is still green space here.
So-
It's just this part,
okay, so it's
under the rendering.
that parking part that we see there with the little trees around it, that's the part that would go into,
The
and
current-
all of this could also change during the site plan process, correct? Okay, all right.
So you might not want to give the property back to Marion Tavern until after the site plan approval.
That sounds right, Attorney. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyone, Bill? Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question on what is the current size of the parcel that the Union School is on today?
I can find it.
Acres.
I can get it.
Thank you. And it might, maybe just one concern I have, and it's not going to be an answer to this. I'm on the Fox Hill Committee, and they're talking about a geothermal field, and they're talking about, a fairly large area that you have to drill down to get to bedrock. And from what I've been reading about geothermal, for the buildings here, I would say it's probably in its infancy, and depending on, how far you have to go down, whether it's actually feasible. So I think I wouldn't necessarily say you'd have to, take the size of the property to consider geothermal. I think that's probably a nice to have versus a requirement, to kind of get to a green, but I think that's in its infancy with regard to public buildings, at least what I've been reading. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Bill.
Yeah, I just pulled up on the screen that you were asking what the current size of the 45 Center Street, which is where the existing police station is right now, that it's a 1.6 acre.
1.6.
Yep, and this comes from our town GIS.
Thank you. Jess, did you have anything you wanted to say?
My only question was kind of seeing how that parcel backs up to Sleeper Drive, is it? Sleeper Drive? Is there a plan to reconcile any lost privacy by taking advantage of that land?
What we've heard from the neighbors behind is they don't want to see the station. They're in favor, the ones that I've spoken to anyway. So one of the things we wanted to do is make a concerted effort, and we tried to speak to the architect that we think the appropriate location for the new building would be closer to the corner of Sears and Center. So move towards that direction and hopefully be able to provide plenty of screening with trees and whatnot so that the folks on Briarwood, Sleeper, and in the Grandview Commons condo development will not have to look at the station. That's the goal of the project.
Okay. Brenda and Ernie online, do either of you want to speak?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think that whatever the police need, I think we should give it to them. And, we have
Mr. Zagorinos assured that he will give back what isn't being used. That station is very dilapidated, and I think that, our police force simply deserves the best. So let them do what they need to do, and we can figure it out afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. Ernie?
Just that obviously I'm in favor of the new police station, have been since way back when, because it's been needed since 2 weeks after they moved in, I think. And I'm pretty confident, I am confident, period, that in the site plan process, we can minimize the use of the adjoining parcels that they're looking to have rezoned now, and I understand why they want to rezone the whole thing so the architect can have various ways of using it. And then I'm also assuming that there'll be a planning board member on the, if there isn't already, on the building committee, so that some of the questions, is there?
Yes, there are 2 members,
Okay,
Brenda
great.
and myself.
Fine. Then I'm sure both yourself and Brenda will we'll take
And
care
also,
of the
I do
issues.
also want to remind everyone that all of the police building committee meetings are public meetings and they are posted, so
you don't have to be on the subcommittee to come. Anyone can come, from the public as well.
Thank you,
So-
Madam Chair, I'm all set.
Thank you, Ernie. Before I turn this over to the audience, Tony, did you have a question?
Well, I just want to ask, so do we have to, so they want it zoned, the whole thing right now in order for the plans to work? Is that what you're saying? He can't do a plan without just voting on the zoning to the red mark? It has to be the whole field?
Right, that's the best estimate at this point, Mr. Tola. So,
Okay. All right. This is a public meeting. Are there members of the audience that would like to speak? Thank you. Mr. Kelly?
Just a very quick
Thank you.
Does the zoning require any setbacks of the building if it remain?
Microphone, Jack. Sorry.
Does the zoning require any setbacks from the property line if they didn't have the new parcel zoned BL? What is the setback requirements for the buildings they have?
For the,
So
on the
they-
current
so-
site, you mean?
No, between business and
If
residential.
they build the
Okay.
building as proposed with that footprint at that location, are there setback requirements for which they would need to have a portion of the meadow?
Are they being met? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
What are the setbacks requirements?
If they kept only, did it all in the existing lot, it's right up against a lot line.
Yes,
Would they be meeting setback?
15 feet.
15 feet.
There's setback in the BL district, 15 feet.
15 feet from.
Do they need part of the additional lot to meet
Is it
their
15?
setback requirements with the current zone, the current layout?
I think that's
What is the setback requirement for
15
that
feet.
building?
Well,
That's
it's
what
15
town
when
council
it's
is telling
residential
us.
to residential. Is it 15 when it's business to residential?
So it's 15 feet in the BL, but to answer your question, part of the use is in the other part of the district, in the other zone. Because a part of the use includes the parking, and then it looks like there's an accessory structure.
Right.
So part of the use is in the additional zone, so you have to comply with that zone.
So they need it to meet setback,
They need to meet the use, not just setback.
okay?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Someone, Mr. Young?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just curious, everybody feel?
You got to sit
Oh,
down and
I'm
use the microphone, just so, because we can hear you, but
Get
people
my
at
name
home.
again, or you have it?
Quickly, yes.
Bob Young. Before I get into what I wanted to say, actually, I was thinking of this when I was sitting in the audience. Does everybody feel comfortable? Is the temperature okay?
It's cold.
You think it's a little cold? Okay. Mr. Sangarino could probably fix that. I see a number of the committee members looking at papers. Can everybody see the papers really well? No problem seeing the papers? The light in here is good?
That's good. Yeah.
Okay, good. I'd like the folks, if you would just go with me, look at the vents. Look at the vents. Every single one of them. Could you look up, Mr. Joe Impemba? Can you look up? Okay. Do you see them? Are they clean? They look clean to you?
All right.
Good, good, okay. I know some people this very minute at 8:21 this evening that aren't so fortunate as we are to be in this room right now in the resources that the town's providing. And that's the folks that are up at the police station. So I don't want to lose fact of, layouts and so forth, numbers and so forth. We're talking about real people. Real people.
Let me speak first,
he gets
because.
3 minutes.
because
No, Joe, he gets 3 minutes.
Actually, what he's
Let him
saying
finish.
is that we're against the building of a police station. We're not. We 100%.
I didn't say that,
Well,
sir.
Okay.
let me just make it clear that everybody here knows the police need to have a police station. We know, we're all in favor of building a police station, so
Okay,
we
Joe,
don't
let
need to
him
go through
finish.
the exercise of looking at vents.
Let him finish, Joe. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll say this to you. I've asked a question at a recent meeting. And I said earlier that I've been a citizen and taxpayer and a homeowner in this town for almost 13 years.
And me over
This is a-
60, and my family over 70.
Excellent, but it's
Right.
not a competition for how
No, it isn't.
long.
You're right.
The reason why I brought it up is I'm so concerned, and I only became aware of this issue in January. And I've put quite a bit of time into it, sir.
Yep.
And a week ago today, I went on a tour of the police station. Let me ask you directly a question.
No,
Have you gone on-
actually, no, I'm going to
No, go
stop you
ahead.
right there.
Ask me a
Both
question.
of you,
That's fine.
stop, no.
Fine, go ahead.
It is inappropriate. You are not addressing individual members of the board. You address
ask me any
yourself to the
questions you
chair, and the individual members of the board will allow
okay.
him to speak.
Okay.
Please
Well,
go ahead.
My point is, if I can't address someone specifically, if someone has not gone up and looked at the police station from the bottom all the way up to the top and talked to some of the people like I did, it's an eye-opener, and it's...
I actually worked in the building for 2 years,
Joe?
I've been involved in that building for 34 years, so I know that building inside and out.
Okay, let's let him finish,
Okay.
please.
So as I said, I was on a tour, and hopefully I look healthy. I can tell you I'm healthy. I don't have any lung problems or asthma or any issues at all. I'm a healthy person. And
Barbara, it's not before us right now as to whether we're going to build a police station. He's acting as if we're looking like we don't want to build a police
Joe,
station.
giving you my
you've
experience.
interrupted him 4
Well,
times.
you're
It
interrupting.
would be done if you would just let him
You
finish.
stop everyone else from talking when they get off
I'm not
subject. This is
stopping.
not subject.
We're talking about the police station. Let him
I'm asking
finish.
about the footprint, and you stop me from asking about the footprint, but he insinuates we're not trying to build, we want to not build a police station, and you're allowing him to speak.
And he would be done 2 minutes ago.
It
if we
doesn't
just
matter.
Let him finish. Please go ahead, Mr. Young.
Okay, so let there be no mistake. I am not, I don't know what people are going to do. I'm talking about what I am as a specific citizen. I know when something isn't right, that I need to speak up. So my point, let me finish. I went on the tour. It was comprehensive, and I had been made aware that it was a difficult situation up there for the employees. It was terrible, absolutely terrible. And about 2/3 of the way in, I started having a issue with my chest. I wasn't feeling well. I felt like something was pressing on my chest. And
Okay, you need to wrap up now, okay? And I'm sorry.
I
It's-
got
it's-
interrupted so
I know
many
you did,
times.
but
Is that
we
3
need
minutes?
to actually...
We've allowed extra
all
time to
right,
do that.
I'll wrap it
Okay,
up. So,
everyone-
thank you for your indulgence. This is important. So, I felt ill. And I
Okay.
just told you,
But we are supposed to be talking about the zoning change. So I can glean from what you've said that you are in support of allowing the zoning change. Am I correct?
yes,
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to
I would
speak
like to
regarding
speak.
this zoning?
Just to address this, just because there's been some innuendos.
Is it
I'd like
something
to
you
make-
haven't already
I
said?
would like to make one statement, and even the police officers that are in this room could attest to this. I have 34-year track record of voting in this town. Not once have I voted against any one of the public safety departments.
Okay,
I voted to support everything they've ever brought up, and I'm doing that now.
okay.
That we're confusing things with the fact that there are also other considerations, that we have historic sites in the center of our town that we would like to preserve and build a police station at the same time.
Yes, we are discussing
So
the
this
zoning
is,
tonight.
we don't want to get off track, and I think
I agree with you,
just
Joe.
allowed a gentleman to get off track.
Right, and now we're going to have someone else speak who's probably going to talk about historical, which also has nothing to do with the zoning, but I'm going to allow it. And just like I allowed Mr. Young to speak, and we should allow Mr. Capola to speak now without interruption. Mr. Capola, please come forward.
This is important stuff. She's going to stop.
I'm Peter Capola, Historical Commissioner. Just for clarification, the Historical Commission is an appointed board. We are all municipal town employees. We're not some private entity that has nothing to do with the town. But we tend to get lost in the clouds when activities take place, and this is an example. First of all, like you, Joe, we met with the chief 2 weeks ago, and we unanimously told him we support the need for a new facility. I'm not going to talk about that parcel, talk about the metal, we call the metal. We were not involved in the development of the town overlay district, and were surprised when we found that that superseded the PDD the town meeting approved years ago for that Grandview Farm parcel. So the meadow that we had planned to use for farms and exhibits and things like that got usurped a couple of years ago with the sculpture park, and now we're seeing a further degradation and the loss of that historical parcel to be used for parking for this facility. The charter by the state, by the way, says that the established, by town meeting, was to establish it for the preservation, promotion, and development of historical assets of the town. So the Historical Commission would be remiss if we did not oppose doing anything on the meadow. That's our charter. We're forced to do that. And the state says the same thing. We're directed by Section 8D, Chapter 40, for the preservation, protection, and development of historical and archaeological assets. So just by our charter, we have to say we are opposed to doing anything on that parcel.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Capola. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Ms.
Oh, and by the way,
Ellis?
we haven't been invited to sit on this committee also, so we have no say in what's going on with the development of the new police station.
Please feel free to come to any of those meetings.
Well, it's not, that's,
Because they're
what
public
I just
meetings
said,
and anyone
we are a
can come.
public entity just like yourselves. We should be sitting on this board, not being invited to speak.
Right.
I have no control over the makeup of the board. I'm just asking you to please consider yourself welcome there. That's all. Mrs. Ellis. Brenda, I see you. I'm going to call on you right after Sherry speaks, okay? Sherry. Please go ahead. No, please.
Thank you, Sherry Ellis. A couple of different various questions. One kind of goes back to all of these articles that you're voting tonight. So this is a process question. You voted them as they have been presented in the latest version. Any changes that are made after that, I just want to clarify, are now going to be made on town meeting floor. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, got that question answered. As far as this particular article goes, the way that it's been presented, and I spoke with Mr. Sagarino and Tom Brown about this, it's kind of a draft of an article. I don't see it as a full article on the form, and it just has some paragraphs as to what you want to do. So I was asking for a redlined copy of what the wording is, so I'm kind of confused on that one. So I just put that out there. As far as, and I don't know if this is going off topic or not, again, I spoke with Chief Brown about this. We have the zoning, and we have the need for the police station, which I wholeheartedly agree. My question to Chief Brown the other day was, is there money to move the staff out of that building?
You mean during renovation, during this process?
Well,
or-
why isn't it happening now if there's money?
You're exactly right.
And let the zoning and the planning of the building be done correctly and get the folks
100%.
out of the building now if it's such a hazardous place to work.
Yes.
So that was my question, that if nothing else, a financial article to, I know Chief Brown said that there was money in there going forward with the funding that they're asking for, but, this is my concern, is that I want a new building, I want the building done right, and I don't want to necessarily take the sculpture park if we don't have to. Because I think, as Mr. Mpemba said, the town voted for that, and I'm wholeheartedly in favor of keeping that. But I also want a police station, but I want it done correctly. I don't want it thrown together quickly because we need it because of health reasons. So I think that's it.
Thank you. I think you heard the request, and I don't know if you want to respond in terms of finding a temporary location for the staff, or if you'd rather wait.
Madam Chair, to date, we have received no complaints about air quality within the building. Like I say, it's You can sense it when you go there, you can feel the stuffiness, you can smell the smells, but to date, the town has never received any formal complaints about the air quality in the building. In terms of, in order to construct a new station, we would need to provide swing space for the department. That is being factored into the cost estimate for the project.
Thank you. I think that I would say, from someone who just spent a limited amount of time in that building, that it's surprising there have been no complaints regarding the air quality. And I would urge you to seek other accommodations for your staff if you have to, or if you can, during this process for their own safety. That's all. Okay, anyone else in the audience that would like, oh, wait, Brenda. Brenda had her hand up, I'm sorry. Please go ahead, Brenda.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd also like to second that opportunity where you state that we should find swing space, because it is, those conditions are quite deplorable. In response to Mr. Capola's attendance, this has been discussed for quite some time. Why hasn't conservation, or why haven't they approached us? I mean, it's my understanding that, I'm sorry, not conservation, preservation. They were
historical.
Yeah, they were approached at one point in time, and nothing ever came of it. Now we're kind of, knee deep in this project, and now there's comment. What gives?
Mr. Capola is not at this chair anymore, and I think your point is taken, but I don't think we're going to have a whole lot of back and forth between members and commenters. But your point is taken that the Historical Commission did know about this previously, and
Madam Chairman, being aware of something and being involved in something is two different things. We were not involved, we were not invited.
I understand you're not involved.
Participate in anything. So being aware of something, I'm aware that there's going to be a solar eclipse in a couple of days. That doesn't mean I'm involved in it.
I understand. It is my understanding that the Historical Commission was approached previously by Mr. Sagarino and also Chief Brown. I know I also approached a couple of members of Historical asking about their intention or their input, their feedback.
And we provided that feedback to Mr. Sagarino and Chief Brown. We did.
Okay, great.
I have one other question. Is there any way that we could come together to make everybody happy? We had a meeting, you said, a couple of weeks ago. Is there any discussion of making it all work for everybody? How'd that turn out?
I actually, thank you, Tony, and I was told there was actually a meeting last night, correct?
I attend the Historical Commission meetings regularly, Madam
Okay.
Chair.
And is there progress being made?
I would say, and I don't want to speak for the commission, as the commission, as Peter stated earlier, it's their role to try to save old buildings, so they take their role very seriously. They're very supportive of the new station as well, and again, I think it's a struggle for them as a commission. They know we need a new station. And again, their role is to try to save these spaces and buildings, so it's understandable the conflict that they're dealing with.
But was their plans offered to make it work differently, or did anything happen at that meeting? Did they offer anything different to make it better, or to not have to?
You mean the Historical Commission?
Yeah,
Oh,
did they have any ideas at the meeting?
At the most recent police station building committee meeting, there was a request to see if the architect could come up with a plan that incorporated more of the details of the Union School into the design to make it more similar. We've spoken to the commission members on an ongoing basis about different ways that we can remember the history of the old building within the new building, whether it's, taking wood from the old building and using it for trophy cases or display cases in the lobby, and to display photographs of the building, however they want to incorporate those details into a new facility if we're so fortunate to have one approved.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sagarino. Is there anyone else in the audience that wants to speak on this matter? Mr. DeTucci, please come forward. And even though we know you, please state your name for the record and sign in. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Dan DeTucci, Precinct 6. I'm basically going to say a few of the things I said a couple of weeks ago. The planning board, over the years, since I've been involved in town meetings, does a very, very good job with the private development that comes into the town. Like I said before, I look at this a little bit differently, okay? There's the old saying of handling it with kid gloves. This is not a business, okay? This is a municipal building. All of the municipal buildings that I've seen redeveloped or replaced over the years have been on the existing sites. And what you do is sometimes you have to wiggle a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. It's not something that, again, we're not letting businesses come into town that, bypass a lot of what the planning board does. Again, this is not a business. This is a police station. We all know that we need it. It just so happens that the chief just happens to feel that little piece of green space needs to be part of the equation in order to complete the building. And Mr. Sagarino has already said that whatever amount of this property here that we do not need in order to build this building the way the chief would like it to be built, because, we got to give him, we got to give him some respect here. He is the chief. He knows the kind of building he needs. He's not saying to us, I don't want to build it there. I'm looking at this, $200 million public safety building. He's not looking for that. He's very conservative in what he wants. We're not spending a ton of money over here. And it's already been a functioning police department for quite a while. So this is not something that's new to us. So, all I'm saying is that, Paul has already said that we will return that property. There has to be a little bit level of trust. Now, granted, if there was a private developer coming into town asking for certain things, and saying, well, we're going to just wiggle this for a while, but then, we may give you this property back. No. We want everything in writing right now. We want to make sure that if there's something that you do that we did not vote in favor of, that, we're going to come after you for that. But again, all I'm saying is this is not a business. Just give them a little bit of slack. And you people are going to be doing the site plan anyhow, so you're going to be all over you're going to have the opportunity to do all that. But I'm just probably a little bit more laxed on the details. I just want to relax it a little bit. And I think when we deal with private businesses, we say the same thing. We're like, okay, future growth, let's do this, and we'll deal with your future growth in the future. And we also deal with shared parking. We try to minimize parking, and we've talked about shared parking. Well, you couldn't have a better spot, a better situation for shared parking here. You've got a library on one side, you have the Grandview Farm parking on the other side, which is literally another 20-foot walk from if you were parked in the field or if you were parked in the existing parking for the Grandview Farm. Right. It's both of those spots are pretty much just as close as the other one would be. And by the way, I'm not here to try to change anybody's mind. I'm just giving you a point as a town meeting member, because at the end of the day, you guys are going to give a recommendation, but at the final vote on this, on whether or not this rezoning, because you need the rezoning, they're going to be voting on the building, and also the financing. It's all part of the whole thing. And I know what you're saying, Joe, but all I'm saying is that we have to treat this one. I know we're respectable for all the planned development districts, but this here, just for me, this is a little different. These people in any municipal building, these are our buildings. Remember, we all own these buildings. No question about it.
Okay, Mr. DeTucci.
Okay, right. So that's it. I'm all set. Thank you. So
Thank
it's
you
actually
so
a lot
much.
different. There's a historic site here, and
Okay.
and again, and I talked to Chief Brown, and I said, look, I want to be in favor of this thing. I want to move forward, and I want to support it, and I want to go to town meeting in support of it.
Okay.
There's no compromise to say, okay, the parking that we're talking about there, we can now share some parking and park in the existing lot within the Grandview Farm
I do
instead of
think
taking
we'll
the...
probably do that when it comes to site plan review. But right now, there's one more member of the audience. I'm only going to allow one more comment. Joe, you've been talking more
I
than
know,
anyone
well,
else all night.
the fact is
So
this-
Mr. Priest wants to have a moment.
Yeah,
Mr.
yeah,
Priest,
all right.
please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Nick Priest, Precinct 6, also a member of the Select Board. I think it'd be remiss if I didn't come up and say something in regards to this topic. It's not in question whether who does or doesn't support the police station. I think that we all agree, we all support the police station. There's no question about that. I think to Mr. DiTucci's point, there's several other points that were made this evening. What we're asking for is a little bit of latitude in the planning stages. We don't want to take any more land than we have to. If we did, then we would say, hey, you know what, there's an opportunity to create more shared and extra parking in the center of town where events are occurring, and we'd ask for the whole lot, right? And we'd say, look at this, now we have extra parking for events at the Common, right? I mean, you look at the library, you look at the police station, you look at Grandview, they are all small lots with small parking spots. Any event that's held in any of those places is maxed out in a matter of seconds. If you are not first there, you are running down Sleeper, you are running up the road. It's not convenient. So if we were trying to maximize that, we'd be sitting here saying, please give us everything. And we're not. We're coming to you with the compromise of saying, for the sake of planning, let's rezone the whole thing. And we are going to make every conceivable effort along with you to use as little land as humanly possible while giving the police department everything that they need. And then we're going to give everything back. And we're going to preserve that space. And if it means using parts of the existing Union School to, create historical monument, if it means, a plaque or a sign, I think, I don't want to speak for the whole board, but we're in favor of those things. There's no question about it. I don't want this to feel rushed or pushed or forced. I want you all on the same page with us. But I think that what we were trying to do was lead with the compromise. So that way we could all get on the same page quicker, rather than come to you with something more aggressive and then meet in a compromise, because that didn't feel fair, that felt forced. I'm not a member of the subcommittee, but that's just, I just wanted to say that and remark on that and just kind of go from there.
Thank you, Mr. Priest. Okay, I think we've discussed this for long enough. And
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to close the public meeting on this matter.
Second.
LaRue.
Yes.
Rappaport. Sutherland.
Yes.
Impemba.
No.
Pavino.
No, this is to close the meeting.
Yeah, I'm not,
Yeah.
I think it needs more discussion.
ahead.
Or I don't think it should be
Yes.
closed.
Natola.
Yes.
All right, so, and Justin's going to read the thing, but I just want to state what I stated in the beginning. This is only about rezoning the property, and we have the assurances of Mr. Sagarino that once we go through the site plan process and we determine how much of that property is necessary, the rest will be rezoned back. Please go ahead, Jess.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to recommend favorably on the petition to rezone property to the Limited Business BL District, 55 Center Street, submitted by the Burlington Select Board.
Second.
Chairman LaRue.
Yes.
Rappaport. Sutherland.
Yes.
Impemba.
No.
Pavino.
Yes.
Gaffney.
No.
Natola.
I'm going to say yes, but I
But I really
hope
hope that we keep our word to do the plans, because without seeing any of these plans or anything, it's very difficult. Okay, so, thank you. Decision, but I'm doing this out of respect for the chief.
in the whole situation. I hope
Well, I
that
think we all
that's.
have respect for the
Thank you.
chief
Well, we
and
do
all of the
have
police
respect for
department.
him, but I'm just saying, this is what he feels is the only thing we have right now to do.
Okay, thank you. Thank you,
Thank you very
gentlemen.
much.
All right, next item on our agenda is item 7L, a continued public hearing, petition to amend the zoning bylaws, Article 7, General Regulations, to update parking requirements submitted by the planning board. Staff.
Hello. So this is a continuation of something we've been talking about
Yes.
since November of last year. And where we are right now is that We have received comments from the business community. We've incorporated those comments. All of those comments were reviewed by myself and Lisa Mead. She has provided us comments. And so this is the final document.
And we've had this for a while as well.
Yes, final document. I just want to go through some highlights of what this does. You know, we're going, you know, parking requirements and standards, so we're updating our parking table. It's not drastically changing, it's not a drastic change, and it's been reviewed by the business community and the chamber, so it is, they are confident that this will serve their needs, and so I think that that's a testament to them. Other things, so we're incorporating parking reduction methods or parking waivers. So what that means is that if you're a property owner and you want to deviate from your parking requirements, either above 10% or below 10%, the planning board through the, you know, site plan process, MEC process, special permit process, can grant a waiver for that. Anything above that or below that 10% threshold needs to go to a special permit. And there are certain thresholds that the planning board needs to meet in order to, or the applicant needs to provide documentation that meets certain thresholds so that you guys can vote on it.
Okay.
So there's all of that stuff.
Okay.
There's design standards, basic design standards for parking lots on private property and structured parking for facades there. And then there's landscaping requirements. This board always is pushing for landscaping at all sorts of businesses, and we wanted to kind of set a baseline of how that should be handled. And so that is all in here as well. And so.
Okay, great. Thank you.
That's high level.
I know you guys have worked really hard on this, and I think it's actually going to make things really run more smoothly with applicants in the future, and I really appreciate that. Do any members of the board have questions on this article? Bill?
Thank you. Just comments, Madam Chair. I think with Member Impediment mentioning shared parking, as I read that, and also with structured parking, with the last application, I think there's opportunities for folks, particularly with elevation, in this case, police station down to the library. You could probably put in structured parking there, which I don't think has been considered, so I think this is very helpful for the folks going forward. So thanks to staff for that.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Brenda or Ernie, anything? No? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment on this article? Seeing no one?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to close the public meeting on this matter.
Second.
Chairman LaRue?
Yes.
Rappaport? Sutherland?
Yes.
Impemba?
Yes.
Covino?
Yes.
Gaffney?
Yes.
Natola?
Yes.
7-0.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to recommend favorably on the petition to amend the zoning bylaws, Article 7.
Yep.
Sorry, it's getting late. General regulations, update parking requirements submitted by the planning board.
Second.
LaRue?
Yes.
Rappaport?
Yes.
Sutherland?
Yes.
Impemba?
Yes.
Covino?
Yes.
Gaffney?
Yes.
Natola?
Yes.
7-0. Thank
Okay.
you, everyone. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. I know it's been a lot, and there's more to come. Item M is a public hearing, petition to amend the zoning bylaws by updating and modernizing Article 2 definitions and Article 4, Section 4.2.0 principal use regulation schedule submitted by the planning board. And I'm going to hand it over to Liz, but I'm going to first say this has been an enormous undertaking. It took me a long time just to read all the work that you did, and I know it took a lot more time to put it together. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so before we get, I just want to, again, thank you guys for reviewing it. I want to thank the other land use committees in town. ZBRC has been really helpful. Again, this has also gone through the chamber. And, you know, really the point of this is to modernize our use table so that we can incorporate, new modernized uses, so that when somebody is looking to bring a business to Burlington, if they're searching it in Google, it's gonna come up. Or if somebody's looking for a place where this activity is allowed, Burlington will come up. And then also, kind of consolidate specific uses that are kind of the same. So, golf courses, billiard rooms, bowling alleys, let's consolidate that into something that's called commercial facility, indoor and out or exterior recreation facilities. So consolidating a lot of those kind of randomly specific uses that are like vestiges of past planning efforts. And I think that is it. You have a truncated, it's also available on the website for zoning bylaw warrant articles. There's a truncated use table that just shows all of, and you guys have it, that just shows the uses, the new uses that are being implemented, any uses that are being consolidated into a new use, and then kind of how they are being proposed to be permitted in the different zoning districts. For example, urgent care, membership clubs are allowed in all zoning districts. Urgent care facilities are allowed by special permit in the BG, IG, and so that, just for those of you at home who are not familiar with our use table, that's what it means. So any questions on that, comments, concerns, let me know, guys.
Okay, thank you. Board members, anyone?
Madam Chair, just
Please, Bill.
applaud the staff for all the work on this one. It's, I think it's well overdue, and I think they did a great job. Thank you.
I agree. I'm going to add a message to town meeting members. Please read your packets and your backup material in advance of town meeting, because it's not something you can read on the fly the night of. Is there anyone in the audience that wants to speak on this matter? Ms. Tentaklis.
Hi there, thank you. Planning Board, my name is Melissa Tentaklis, Economic Development Director for the town of Burlington. I think I was missed earlier, so I'm sorry for the public comment period and announcement. So with regard to this article, I just wanted to, thank everyone on this board for really taking the time to go line by line. It is very dense, but the outcome of moving this forward to town meeting and hopefully for their consideration and approval will be a streamlined document that really does facilitate economic development in ways that kind of are invisible to us. It not only amplifies and explicitly states what we want to come into town, it makes it clear to say where where things are. So I appreciate that. And I think this is also helpful, and so that the board knows that this is, something that could also be laying some foundation for the mixed-use district and the rezoning effort we've been talking about. And I didn't get a chance earlier to mention that, but we will be having precinct meetings starting tomorrow or next week on Tuesday. So we'll be meeting with precinct 7, 2, and 3, those members. On Tuesday, and then land use will start listening to the mixed use district and the zoning so that they can familiarize themselves. It's not till September, but we really want to get kind of things in front of them and kind of starting to socialize, and so that they can see. I heard, it was a great discussion on MBTA district and the overlay, and there is a real interesting dovetail there, and I think it really kind of works to our overall town strategy, not only to, incorporate housing options, but then to support, the commercial and the commercial value over the long term. So I'm excited about that. And so all these things are connected, and I just wanted to, share my perspective on that and my appreciation to the work that's been done and the consideration to date. So thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Is there anyone else in the audience that wants to speak on this matter? Okay, seeing no one.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to close the public meeting on this matter.
Second.
LaRue.
Yes.
Rappaport.
Yes.
Sutherland.
Yes.
Impemba.
Yes.
Covino. Gaffney.
Yes.
Natola.
Yes.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to recommend favorably on the petition to amend the zoning bylaws by updating and modernizing Article 2 definitions and Article 4, Section 4.2.0, Principal Use Regulations Schedule submitted by the Planning Board.
Second.
Chairman LaRue.
Yes.
Rappaport. Sutherland.
Yes.
Impemba.
Yes.
Pavino.
Yes.
Gaffney.
Yes.
Natola.
Yes.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay, thank you. Very well done. So, the next item on our agenda is item O, a public hearing, application for approval of a site plan, 169 to 175 Cambridge Street. Aryan Shiva Godwin LLC is the applicant. I hope I did not mispronounce your name.
You can say.
Please come forward.
You want me to sign this?
If you want, yeah, that'd be great.
So, while
Yeah, I can give
the applicant signs in,
I can give a
please go
quick
ahead.
introduction that this is a site that's in Burlington Town Center, 169 to 175 Cambridge Street. I'm glad to pull it up on a map after this as well. We've been getting actually a couple inquiries for special permits on this site, and we had informed those applicants that we don't have a site plan that's codified with the town. So we reached out to the property owner, and the property owner is here to codify a site plan. So under this application, there are no proposed changes. This is just as the site is today. Here's an engineered stamped site plan so that board can then endorse it, and then it can be used as application materials that's required for all special permit applications.
Okay.
So that's why this has come before you today.
And for the benefit of people at home, can you explain where the site is?
Yes, I'd be glad to pull it up on we do this. This is this site right over here, whatever it's on share, because it's all changed. And we are now speaking here that this is Shaw's, right over here, this big white building over here. So this is kind of the entrance, where across from Wynn Street, along Cambridge Street, that it's kind of I believe it's these three parcels here of 23340, 23330, and 23331.
So for old timers like me, where the Pillbox Pharmacy used to be. Okay. That's how everybody used to know it.
So I'd be glad to pull up the site plan as well. And if you'd like to talk at all, if there's anything else that I've missed.
I don't know. I mean, we're not making any changes. I just bought this buildings last year, and I got a couple of new tenants come in, and they need some special permits. So they came into the town, and town doesn't have the site plan, so I had to like redo it. And actually, when I bought the building, I had a site plan at that time because we did the survey, but somebody told me that we gotta do it again. I think that, so I just spent another $18,000 to do it, and then get another civil engineer to stamp it $4,000. And somebody gave me, because these are three parcels together, so I ended up getting the abutters list like 4 times, like same guys. And I just did everything, and when I went to the USPS, they said like, hey, you're sending 5 times to the same guy, you know? So, but we're not making any changes. We just need it for our tenants, you know?
Sorry about the difficulties with the
No, I
process, but we
understand. I
appreciate
understand
you doing this because it's important that we have a site plan for what's actually there. Any members of the board have questions? Bill?
Madam Chair, thank you. So just from the buildings on site, there's the pillbox, yarn, fortune telling, right, that building?
Yes.
Then the one where the plumbing company is, right?
Yeah, the Denomia
One in the
Plumbing.
back as well?
Yes.
Right,
yes.
those are all three, there's no other one behind that, right?
No, nothing. It's just 3 buildings
Okay.
together. Yeah.
So if you go further down below the blue line there, what is that? If you go,
Sorry, which one, where are
if you
you?
go straight down behind that,
Right
what
there.
is that? That's the one in the back, right?
This right here?
Yeah.
Yes.
Does this include where the
That would be,
pet grooming?
Yeah, pet grooming, yeah.
It includes that too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it does include, okay. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Anyone else have any questions? Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to ask a question or make a comment on this matter? Seeing no one?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing on this matter.
Second.
LaRue.
Yes.
Rappaport.
She had to drop.
She had to
Oh, sorry.
catch a flight, so-
LaRue, Sutherland.
Yes.
Impemba.
Yes.
Pavino.
Okay.
Gaffney.
Yes.
Natola.
Yes.
So how do I know conditions here?
This isn't the one with the conditions, that's the next one, with the dumpster.
Two.
This is not. the one with the- Oh, wait.
Do you want to make a motion to reopen the public hearing?
Oh, the dumpsters.
Yeah.
I think we need to make a motion to reopen the public hearing if
Okay.
we're
I will,
following
Madam
Robert's
Chair, I'd like to make a motion to reopen the public hearing on this matter.
Second.
LaRue.
Yes.
Rappaport is not here. Sutherland.
Yes.
Impemba.
Yes.
Cavino.
Yes.
Gaffney.
Yes.
Natola.
Yes.
So actually, thank you very much. Thank you, Jess. What Jess pointed out is that there are dumpsters on this site that are not on the site plan, and they need to be conditioned so that they are enclosed. Staff feels comfortable that we can vote on this tonight with that condition in the decision.
Okay.
So that was what we should have said. So,
So what that means for the applicant is that per the zoning bylaw, dumpsters need to be enclosed and they need to be shown on the site plan where they are. And so the site plan needs to be revised to add that onto the site plan. And once that comes in, then we can get the planning board to endorse it.
So you, because the dumpsters are enclosed, they're like enclosed dumpsters?
But they need to be with when we're saying enclosed.
Oh,
it's
you're
like
talking
with a
about like
fence.
fencing it
Yeah,
up.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's all it is, of kind of just keeping them
No,
in
I
one
don't know. When
space.
I bought it, like, it's been like that forever, so I
Yeah,
don't
so
know.
that's all it is, that it's going to be, so on the site plan where that is, and I'd be happy to talk with you more of kind of showing you an
Okay, yeah,
example.
I can stop by.
Yeah, and I'd be happy to go over that with you to say kind of what they're looking for, and
Okay.
we can condition as such.
okay.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
it.
So now we
Yeah,
have to
we
close
can-
it again.
Yep. Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing in this matter.
Second.
LaRue.
Yes.
Sutherland.
Yes.
Impemba.
Yes.
Cavino. Gaffney.
Yes.
Natola.
Yes.
Okay, Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the site plan application of Ariane Shiva Godwin LLC for property located at 169, 175 Cambridge through 165 Cambridge Street to provide the town with a formalized site plan for the property as reflected on the site plan entitled 169 to 175 Cambridge Street, Assessors Map 23, lots 31, 33, and 34, Burlington, Massachusetts, prepared by Farland Corporation, dated February 10th, 2023, consisting of one sheet subject to the following revisions, terms, and conditions as amended.
Second.
LaRue.
Yes.
Sutherland.
Yes.
Impemba.
Yes.
Pavino.
Yes.
Gaffney.
Yes.
Natola.
Yes.
Okay. Great.
Madam Chair, I would like to
Thank
make
you.
a motion to take
Touch, yeah,
items 7P and
Thank you.
7Q together for discussion purposes.
Second.
LaRue.
Yes.
Sutherland.
Yes.
Impemba.
Yes.
Pavino.
Yes.
Gaffney.
Yes.
Natola.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Item 7P is a public hearing application for approval of a special permit pursuant to 4.2.6.14, establishments for contractors in such services as but not limited to building maintenance, plumbing, landscaping, electrical, masonry, carpentry, well drilling of the zoning bylaws, 215 Middlesex Turnpike. Highland Construction is the applicant. And item Q is a public hearing application for approval of a site plan waiver, 215 Middlesex Turnpike. Highland Construction is the applicant. Who is here representing the applicant?
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Attorney Matt Eckel with Fletcher Tilton, with an address of 12 Brookfield Road here in Burlington. I'm here on behalf of Nick and Nikki Vercolone, the applicant, Highland Construction. Also with me from Highland Construction, is Sarah McKay. What you're looking at very briefly is a very brief presentation, and I'll run through this quickly, hopefully. I know it's been a long evening, but we're seeking to operate a family-owned and operated general contractors and construction company at this location. They specialize in residential additions as well as renovations. They're seeking a special permit to operate at this location. It is located in a general industrial zoning district. However, contractors of this type require a special permit. Additionally, as mentioned and read into the record, we are seeking a site plan review waiver approval. Just to give some basic brief background on the company and how we got here. The property was purchased in December of 2023. Upon applying for a sign permit, it was discovered that a special permit would be needed to operate this, even though the prior operator was a HVAC company, I believe. So it was purchased with the intent of operating this similar manner as the HVAC company, but obviously there were a need to get this special permit, which initiated this process. As mentioned, it's located in a general industrial zoning district. The lot itself contains about 0.349 acres. The site contains, as you can see there, a one-story structure. The one story drops down with a half set of stairs, but still at grade when you come out the rear based on the slope of the property. We believe the location is extremely conducive to this type of contractor's use, given the surrounding neighborhood, which you can see there. It's a mixture of everything from, Starbucks, which is right off the page, but also some flooring and tile companies, other industrial sites, and commercial sites. There's no residential at all on that screen that you can see. So it's very much an industrial and kind of commercial business park. The site contains parking. If you look down towards the front of the building, there's about 8 spaces right in front of the building, as well as some parking back where the blue arrow is. They also have deeded common parking a little further back as you get into that kind of oval area there at the rear. The building is about 5,778 square feet inside. It contains offices, storage, and some shop space. The applicant's proposing, as I mentioned, to operate this general contractor's office in a manner similar to the prior operator. I know sometimes when you think construction company, you think heavy equipment and things of that nature. That's not what we're looking for here. It's, as I mentioned, a kind of small addition and renovation company. The storage would be things like cabinetry that's going to be installed into a new kitchen. We're not proposing any changes at all to the site other than that sign, if and when we are approved to continue that process. Everything will stay the same in terms of the site circulation, the parking, excuse my kind of substandard, whatever you want to call that, cropping and arts and crafts, but we are proposing some planters out front to hopefully beautify the streetscape and make it a little bit more welcoming, both for the employees, but also from the street as you drive by it. We are hindered, as you can see on the left there, right beyond the fence. There are 2 separate gas easements, so there are high-pressure gas pipes that run directly adjacent to the site, and then as you come out towards Middlesex Turnpike, kind of go right underneath us. So we are limited both in terms of the existing infrastructure, based on the majority of the property being either paved already or the building itself, and those gas lines, that there's really not a lot we can do into the ground, which is why we're proposing some exterior features that will hopefully, as I mentioned, beautify the lot. In terms of things like deliveries, we don't anticipate heavy deliveries at all. If and when a delivery needs to occur, it's most likely going to be on a pickup truck or a van, one of the company cars. We do have access to a loading dock that is around the rear of the property, so any loading and unloading would not be viewable from the public. Additionally, I mentioned already, there'll be no heavy machinery. There'll also be no hazardous materials stored on site, whether that's things that are coming out of a job site or long-term storage. That's not contemplated at all. It'll just be, like I said, materials, a little bit of lumber and cabinetry and things of the like. With that being said, I'm happy to go through the special permit criteria and why we believe we meet the standards, or I'll pause and take any questions from the board. I know it's been a long evening, but I'm happy to go through that if desired.
Okay. Staff, did you want to make a comment?
No, this is, so just the reason, it does seem counterintuitive, this is a special permit it's an industrial use that requires a special permit in an industrial area. And the reason being, I think, what I assume is that the town, there are industrial areas that abut residential properties. And so the reason this is a special permit is to ensure that those residential abutters are notified. And it's not the case here, but in other areas it is. So that's why it's a special permit.
Okay.
We don't have any concern, staff does not have any concerns about this site.
Okay. All right. I'm going to break with decorum and go first. Notwithstanding your lovely presentation with the planters, I understand you can't dig down. I would like to suggest that you create like a, perhaps a faux brick rectangular bed so it's,
A raised bed.
a raised bed that's brick or something like that, or stone in the front, and you put your plantings in there, so it would sort of be on the left side of the door and on the right side of the door. Instead of 3 separate planters, you have sort of this raised bed that would beautify the whole front of your property, and I think that would be more stable and very attractive. That's just my suggestion. And board members, anyone else have anything they want to say?
Madam Chair,
Yes,
thank
Bill.
you. Just on the site plan, where is the dumpster now on site?
Dumpster now, if you pull up the site, it's towards the back left here. Right in that area there.
And so that won't be there any longer? That will be removed?
The plan is to remove it. We don't believe it's necessary. We understand with the zoning bylaws, if it were to come back, that it would have to be fenced at any point, but with dumpsters at all our job sites, we don't anticipate heavy overflow trash.
One other thing, I think it probably doesn't need to be said, but just in case, there will be no outdoor storage of materials?
No, I apologize. I should have put that on the record.
Okay.
No. No
Okay,
outdoor
everything
storage.
inside. All right. Anyone else? No?
Just, there's no work going to be done on the, the outside as well, right?
No, but my understanding is no.
Thank you.
That's
Okay.
correct.
All right, this is a public hearing. If there's anyone in the audience or online who would like to speak on this matter, please raise your hand. Seeing no one.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing on these matters.
Second.
LaRue.
Yes.
Sutherland.
Yes.
Gaffney.
Yes.
Pemba. Covino.
Yes.
Natola.
Yes.
Do we have to do all 3 of these motions?
Yes.
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 Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the request of Highland Construction for a special permit pursuant to Section 4.2.6.14, establishments for contractors and such services as, but not limited to, building maintenance, plumbing, landscaping, electrical, masonry, carpentry, well drilling of the Town of Burlington zoning bylaw to allow for the operation of a licensed contracting business to be located in existing 5,818 plus or minus square feet tenant space for property located at 215 Middlesex Turnpike in the General Industrial IG, why always do it backwards, district, subject to the terms and conditions contained in Exhibit A attached.
Second.
LaRue.
Yes.
Sutherland.
Yes.
Pemba.
Yes.
Covino.
Yes.
Natola.
Yes.
Gaffney.
Yes.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that the planning board finds that this is a proper request for a site plan waiver as the plan submitted is an acceptable plan for the purposes of reviewing the proposed modifications.
Second.
LaRue.
Yes.
Rappaport is not here. Sutherland.
Yes.
Pemba.
Yes.
Covino.
Yes.
Natola.
Yes.
Gaffney.
Yes.
6-0.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the request of Highland Construction LLC for approval of a site plan waiver for property located at 215 Middlesex Turnpike to operate a licensed general contractor business on the premises as reflected on the land title survey entitled 215 Middlesex Turnpike prepared by Hayner Swanson, Inc., dated May 3rd, 2002, and subject to the following revisions, terms, and conditions.
As amended?
As,
With
what
the
do we amend?
planter and the,
The
like,
planter, yeah.
planters and the,
Did they agree on that?
Yes.
Was that a recommendation
you.
or a condition?
Let's condition it.
let's condition it. Are you okay with that?
My only hesitation is I know the parking comes right up to
Oh.
there, so I'm a little,
I'm
Sorry.
sorry. I'm worried about the depth too. I don't know how deep a parking spot has to be, but that was my only kind of question because there's not a lot of space.
I think depth-wise, planters would take up just as much room.
Is, we're not talking a lot.
No, it doesn't have to be particularly deep. I think you can work it out with staff.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
As amended.
Second.
Okay, so LaRue.
Yes.
Rappaport is not here. Sutherland.
Yes.
Pemba.
Yes.
Covino.
Yes.
Natola.
Yes.
Gaffney.
Yes.
6-0. Welcome to Berlin.
Yes, and thank you for your patience. You had a long night.
thank you very much. Thank you for all you do. Appreciate it.
Why are they backwards?
It's just, I don't know.
Like
That's
industrial.
I don't know. They've always been that way.
Yeah, don't know why.
We don't,
Okay.
I don't know. Your
So,
point is.
I think we're
I
on
didn't get
to
minutes.
minutes.
I didn't see minutes.
Did we get some?
I thought I said
Okay,
not-
well,
not-
if
I
we're not,
didn't-
if nobody's sure, let's table them till the
Table
next
the
time.
minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
Other matters, discussion, the info session?
So I just wanted to make you guys aware of the fact that part of the contract with VHB for MBTA communities is 2 info sessions. We had our first info session for the public on the 13th. It was only in person because it was at Grandview, and it's not conducive to remote public meetings. The next public meeting, info session will be, haven't decided if it's gonna be hybrid or fully remote. It might make more sense to make it fully remote. It's better able to control everybody. But that is,
Can we send an email to town meeting members?
yeah, I did it at the first one.
Oh, you did,
At
okay.
the first one, and I will again, and I'm gonna do more public info sessions with them and really.
Do we have a date for this one?
No,
Oh,
I
okay.
just wanna make sure that you guys are aware that it's coming up.
Okay.
And,
Okay.
yes, that is all, Madam Chair.
All right. I don't think we have any of these other reports, but what about, anybody have a subcommittee report?
I do.
Yes, Bill?
Thank you. I'm on the Fox Hill Committee, and we've had a number of meetings on that. Specifically on the traffic flow is interesting, and we've modified that, so I think it's been beneficial that, that we do have someone from the planning board on that up front, because it's been,
Good.
I think, some added value to that, particularly with some early on comments. One comment was that I'm still not all that excited about is a roundabout at the school. And so I'd prefer
Where
a
it
four-way
meets
stop.
Fox Hill Road?
Right, exactly.
Okay.
So they're looking at a roundabout with signs, but I know I've seen Joe when we dropped off at Marshall Simons Middle School. Parent drop-off tends to be a bit, there's other things on parents' mind during parent drop-off. And so I think if we can have hard stops there versus, roundabouts where they may be connecting up with students crossing and
So you have
buses
safety
coming.
concerns, really?
Exactly,
Okay.
yeah. So, there is the police officer is part of that as well, so that's good that he's there. But just, one thing we did change was, to be consistent with Memorial, was to have the school buses drop off separate from the parent drop-off. I thought that was important. Then there was some crossovers between the parents and some of the vans, so we're modifying that so they're separate drop-offs and they don't connect up. The exits are different, and the entrance might be the same, but the exit's different, they don't cross. There was a number of different pinch points where they were crossing, which wasn't necessarily good practice. So in addition to that, that enabled to be green space at the front of the school building, which is an even better benefit there. So I think we're getting some traction there. They are looking at materials, and I said we don't have design control, but, I said let that, be one with nature with regard to building materials, so they're taking that into account. I think that's all I had on that. Thank you,
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Thank you, Bill, for the report, but also for doing all that work. We appreciate it.
Just through you, Madam Chair, one update, at our next planning board meeting, the group, I think the architecture group, and the not building committee, but their designer engineers will be coming to this board to give us an update. So the Fox Hill group will be coming to give us an update. So hopefully they'll have some visualizations for what Bill just said. Yeah, and so,
I have some questions about the process, because as I understand it, they can't come to us, of course, for a site plan, of course, until this is approved by town meeting. But they have to have a sort of a site plan for the state and for the MSBA. So my concern is, if they get the approval from MSBA and then come to us, can we make changes without them having to go back to MSBA? Because if not, then we're kind of, we have to rubber stamp it.
I like the loop the best.
So do you know how that will work, Bill, or is that
no
something we have to, okay, maybe we ask them when they come.
excellent question for when they come.
Yeah, which,
And I've had that conversation. I said, I think we need to really address the timeline and what needs to happen when and where everybody fits in. And I think I did alert them to that fact, so they should be coming with
Okay,
information on
good.
that.
Because I was a little confused as to how that timing would work.
Be on my pay grade, I know.
Okay.
And we have members on the high school building committee.
Yes. I think that's Brenda, and I'm sure she'll give us an update next time she had to leave to catch a flight.
All right.
All right. Anyone else?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Well, I just want to ask a question, now that we're all here, about the police department subcommittee that you're on. Why did we never get any of those plans to see it? So it seems like we're not vetting this the way we vet everything else.
There are no plans.
No,
There's
there
no
are,
plan.
because the chief told me that there were plans and that everybody, all these different sites, but we never received.
Oh, you're talking about, okay, I
The
misunderstood. You
locations,
meant the different
everything.
locations. The police building committee was formed when, December or January?
Yeah.
Which was after the whole feasibility study happened with all the different sites. So by the time the police station building committee came together, we were only looking at that one site, not the other
But
sites.
that was never our understanding. To my understanding, we were gonna take a look at everything, and we never got to that point. And I just don't know why all of a sudden, we never got to that point to look at everything.
I agree with your frustration because I also thought that the feasibility study was not broad enough. Are we all set? No, we have not adjourned. But
We're discussing things that aren't on the
it's under discussions. But if you want to leave, go ahead and leave, Joe. I understand that and I share your frustration, but the police station building committee itself, that was created by town administration. We have members appointed to it, and the purview of that committee is not to look at other sites, it's to just look at this site.
But what I don't understand is how can we, like, fast forward without checking out all the sites? Like, why weren't we on there to check out all the other sites to make sure?
That's a fair complaint.
Like,
I wouldn't say this was
and the
fast-forwarded
chief
because
told
it's
me
been
he
taken-
got a list, because I spoke with the chief about it. He got a list, he said.
Of course he did, I know he did, and I'm not disagreeing with you. I think all of us felt that we should have been involved earlier. But right now, we're finding ourselves where we are, and I don't think town administration is going to go back to the drawing table and look at other properties. So the police station building committee itself is looking at
I'm
this.
not so sure we ever looked that hard at any other properties. Is more
don't
of
disagree
the,
with you.
is more of the answer to that.
I don't disagree with you.
And I just don't know why, as a planning board, we're not
Why we're not involved earlier.
No,
Oh,
not even
oh.
so much that. Even when they come to us, if it's late, why we're not being proactive to say, we're a planning board, let's do it the right way. I feel like there's more pressure being put on us because it's like, fast, 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 let's do it. But I don't feel like we're vetting this the way we're vetting everything else to make sure it's done right. I know they need it. I'm in full favor of that.
I understand that. I don't consider it fast, because this has been going on for months, and.
Fast
it's-
as it came to us, though.
Since it came to us, perhaps
I mean,
fast, but it's.
everything they want done.
I understand what you're saying. In the
That's
past, this is not different from what we've done in the past. For example, when the fire station was built, we were not involved in selecting the property. When the DPW building was built, we were not involved in selecting the property. We were involved in the site plan. We were involved with all the permits. We were not involved in selecting where the building would go. That was something that administration decided. Whether or not that, whether or not we feel comfortable with that, that's something we can talk about. And whether or not we want to get involved in those processes earlier is something we can talk about. But this is the way it's been done in all the other instances. So I think they were following the same process they followed before.
I mean, because the chief was open to other places.
Yes, he was. I
It's just
agree.
that it wasn't, like, really a viable option anywhere, that we really looked high and low. And I just feel like we kind of let that.
Right, well, if you.
We kind of didn't do
Right,
our
if you-
homework on that.
If you take what the administration is telling us that their goal was to not purchase property, but to just look at town-owned property, then their options were pretty limited. And I agree, I would have liked to see them look outside of that at other properties.
I mean, even before the area where Goodnight Johnny's is, that whole area would have been a perfect area.
Well, I completely agree. The select board, I wish the select board had purchased that property 10 years ago.
I'm just saying, there was a lot of space. I'm just throwing
No,
that
I
out.
agree. I agree with you.
You know.
But right now, we are where we are, and we have to move forward with what we have in front of us, sadly. I mean, I think that would have been a perfect location for so
Yeah,
many things.
I mean, I'm happy that the plaza's there, but it could have been small. We could have used what we needed and did it the right way with a safety building and done it the right way.
And at the
There's not a
time-
town around that doesn't have a safety building going on. That's a state-of-the-art thing. I feel like we're putting this into a puzzle,
Well, I
trying to
actually
make
did-
it fit.
I did actually talk to town administration about a public safety building, and I know other people have as well. And the response that I received is that the cost of a public safety building would be significantly more than just the police station. And currently, the fire station is in good condition. We don't need a new fire station.
No,
and
but by the time this is done, you're gonna
finish.
see it.
Let me
They're
finish.
gonna be right up our alley.
According to town administration, in about 10 years, a renovation of the fire station might be needed. It would be a minor renovation. They do not think they're going to need any additional space or a major renovation. I did ask the question. That's what I was told. And I think part of the reluctance on the part of administration to take on that bigger project has to do with the fact that we have all these other very large capital projects looming, and there's the practical problem of how to pay for it all. The police station is going to cost somewhere between 40 and 45 million. To move both the police station and the fire station to another location and create that public safety building, while I agree, it would be wonderful, and it would probably be a great thing for the town for the next 50 years, there is a practical problem of funding it, especially when we don't have a need for a fire station. I don't know, I think if it was just that, if we didn't have all these other, the high school and the Fox Hill and all these other projects, maybe it would be possible to consider that, and it would probably involve buying land. But we aren't in that position, unfortunately. And I'm just, I'm relaying to you what I was told by administration. This is not something I was involved in, but I asked the questions. And you should feel free to ask those questions of them, too.
If it wasn't the police department we were looking for, would it be handled this way? That's all I'm saying.
Handled it this way with DPW and fire. We did.
I wasn't on here to see that, but I'm just saying, I feel like
That
this
is
has
what we
been
did,
on
though.
fast forward.
The parcels were already decided by the time they got here.
The location was, as it was with those other buildings. That doesn't necessarily mean it has to be that way forever.
And the salt shed,
Yeah.
by the way, too. That came into us, and I'm like, why is that?
Yeah, so, that is something, maybe that's a conversation that we need to have with town administration so that we can become involved earlier in these things. But it is not, this is not outside of the norm. It is the way it has been done all along. So I think we can't really fault town administration for assuming that they could follow the same process that they have successfully followed up until this
I
point.
fully feel the police department should get a
I
state-of-the-art
know,
police
I know you
department,
do.
but I'm not sure that they're really getting what other towns that I see, the buildings that I see going up, that doesn't really.
I don't know. I mean, the
Bring
police
into-
chief feels that this is going to meet their
I know
needs.
I think he does, I think he's desperate. When I've talked to him, he's desperate for a nice build, anything's better than what
Do you
they're
think they're
in.
skimping on what they're getting?
Yeah, a little bit. He's only given what he needs. I don't think he's going all out that other buildings that I've seen. I even see what they've given the judges, and I asked him right out, do you think you're even getting, like if I showed you a walkthrough what they have for the judges that the police department should get, are you getting all that you need? Because I think.
Because other people have asked him that question at the police building committee meetings, there was a couple of members who were quite vociferous that they wanted them to make sure they got everything they need, that,
He said, I think everything we need is gonna be in there, but I don't believe it sounded like he's not asking for more than he needs. Let's put it to you that
well,
way.
the building committee, there were people who asked him, were saying, are you sure you're getting everything you need? We want to make sure that we're getting a building that's going to take us into the future, not just what we can have today and not have room for growth. He indicated that, yes, he was confident that this plan would give them everything they needed. And I think part of that had to do with the consultants that they hired. He said that they took into consideration the needs 3, 5, 10, 20 years out, and that's how they
He
came
did,
up with the
but-
space, what do they call that? The space
Assessment.
assessment, yeah.
Yeah, he told me that, but what he also told me is you could grow into it, but without it being a safety building, you're missing that, combining it. I don't think you're ever growing into that because you don't have them combined. What are you gonna split up with what the fire does and what the?
It is split.
I'm just saying it is, but I'm just saying, so they're never really growing into that because they don't have it all together like all the other places have the 911 together. They have everything.
No, they can't
situated.
grow into that. They think they can get what they
But
need.
that's what's in that,
from
the
this.
plan he has, he told me. He said it can grow into, like, we have like 3 set up for the 911, but it could be 6. But I don't think they're ever gonna need it, because after I hung up, I said, how the hell are you gonna need it? Because your fire department's gonna be over there, it's gotta be over there.
Right. Well,
It's never, it's wasted, is what I'm saying, it's wasted.
There are
The
economies of
efficiencies,
scale
yeah.
to put them together, obviously, and there's definitely that shared,
Think about if you could
It
put
could
it
be
right
great,
at the
yeah.
library. You could do it with a combination.
Yeah,
put the library where the fire station
I'm
is.
just saying, it would have been so much better to have I just see so many buildings that have gone to Wakefield, Whoop, everybody's put in Wilmington, they've put in beautiful things, and I just don't feel this building is even close to what they should be getting, all the way around. And I know the fire department doesn't need it now, but I think in a very short time.
well, they claim it's going to be not.
Oh, I know what they claim, but then they're gonna be back, and I know what they claim, but I think that 10 years goes by in a blink of an eye sometimes, and I just don't want it to be a poor, like, we didn't do it right when they said they should have planned better, and we're the planners, and we didn't give any pushback for that, and I just feel like the pushback that we're giving, it almost looks like we're giving pushback. And it's not that we don't want that, I just feel like we've been shoved into a little box, and we all want it, so we're saying, yes, because we certainly want a new police department, they certainly deserve that, they certainly, but I don't think it's what it should have been, what we should have been planning for them.
Well, I know that the police chief, he probably told you the same thing, said that several years ago, he brought up the possibility of
Yeah,
a
and
combined public safety building.
You told me
and
where it should have been, it would have been ideal.
Town administration denied that request, and we were not even aware that that was happening at the time. So, I mean, I don't disagree with anything you're saying, Tony, and I just, where we go from here is a difficult question. Oh, sorry.
And that's something we need to focus on. I mean, I think we have to trust that the chief is getting exactly what he feels like is right for the community and his department. And I think this is the cards we've been dealt.
I voted that way to trust him for that very
Right,
reason.
so I think now we got to move forward, because like continuously being like, well, we should have been part of this, should have been part of that. Agree, it needs to be improved in the future, but like then let's take the steps to improve it. Like I had a conversation with Mike Espejo about, hey, would love to know what you're planning for the Mount Hope. Like we have to take it upon ourselves to get involved in those conversations rather than being like, well, what could have been or what should have been. I think that needs to be the focus going forward.
I agree with you, Jen. Okay. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
LaRue?
Yes.
Sutherland?
Yes.
Pavito?
Sure.
Natola?
Yes.
Gaffney?
Yes.
Thank you.
Did everybody get a chance to sign that?